Chapter 1. My Reflections. Kydland's Law: if you write a problem down clearly and specifically, you're halfway to solving it. Reflections on work, life, and the future. I am worried. After working for a few years, I find myself questioning what is truly happening. Did I set my expectations too high, or am I just lowering the bar as I go along? Perhaps I am uncertain whether this path is right for me. This introspection isn't about the job itself. I've wanted to be a scientist since I was 16. It's more about how the nature of the job has changed over time and how the future in this field now seems uncertain. While no one knows what tomorrow holds, I observe my superiors, the years they've dedicated and their current state, and it unsettles me. Is this my future many years down the line, or will things improve? Only a select few retirees are celebrated, while the majority fade out quietly into obscurity or are deemed too old for the system. These senior colleagues were once young and passionate about their work, but today they seem disconnected. Their salaries, lifestyles, and ambitions hardly inspire hope. It is a stark reminder that a simple change in health, administration, or management can abruptly alter your career, and these changes can typically push out an experienced person to make way for new systems. After dedicating most of one's career to mastering a field, the reward often seems to be making way for the next generation and fading into obscurity. At this point, many are simply grateful to have a job and will do anything to hold on to it. For me, though, work-life balance is essential, yet it feels increasingly out of reach. Inflation and the rising cost of living far outpace the slow progress of salary increases, promotions, and pay raises. All of these gestures seem stuck in the slow lane of traffic, or they are perpetually delayed month after month. This apprehension has led me to reflect deeply and to make some observations. I realize this situation isn't unique to me or my workplace. Many others are likely in the same position. I've decided to document my thoughts to clarify them and share them with others who might relate. This way, it's easier to compare experiences and gather insights. The circle of things. My first observation is that I've been working in a field I love and enjoy. However, after a couple of years, I've realized that while there are opportunities for growth within the job, it's equally important to pay attention to life outside of work, especially the economic balance between the two. Life outside work evolves economically at a faster pace, with living costs rising far more rapidly than salary adjustments. Base salaries upon hiring seem reasonable but low, and salary increases afterwards tend to crawl at a pace far slower than the financial demands of life. It's as if pay raises and promotions are constantly bogged down in traffic, unable to keep up with the accelerating cost of living. This realization prompted me to reflect deeply on my career and how I fit into this larger structure. I hope sharing these thoughts can connect me with others who feel similarly, allowing us to compare notes and better understand our positions. A professional journey with challenges. At times, I've felt that the outside world operates on a chaotic, disconnected plane, as though my work and the rest of life exist on different planets. But the truth is, they are inseparable, and bridging this gap requires more than just hard work or hoping for a promotion. My salary hasn't grown in proportion to my aspirations for the job. This wasn't a concern when I was first hired, but the circumstances have changed drastically since then. The happy faces from my hiring are now busy, and my initial optimism has been overshadowed by the pressures of workload and diminished hope. So, who held this position before me? I'm sure they moved on and now it's my turn. I wonder what they thought about this space I now occupy. Life is a constant exchange of spaces and roles. What's yours today will belong to someone else tomorrow. There's no need to cling too tightly. I visited my alma mater recently and watched from a distance as new students moved in and out of a dorm room I once called mine. The coveted front row seat in my favorite lecture hall, once my go-to spot, was now occupied by fresh faces. In a couple of years, these faces will move on as well. I recognize that salaries are based on the value of the function or service provided to an employer, not personal desires. but I wanted to understand what my salary could afford me in this new economy and inflation. To better grasp my situation, I studied my expenses and broke down my salary into categories of basic needs. My findings were clear. My salary sufficiently covered essentials: food, water, shelter, transportation, communication, insurance, and a few minor expenses, within the limits of my tax bracket and job level. Unsurprisingly, these basic needs are shared by most people. The grocery store conundrum. I decided to visit the grocery stores, the source of my basic physiological need: food. In the past, I rarely noticed what others purchased or paid attention to my own purchases, but I recently began to observe distinct patterns. While there were mainstream box stores and local groceries I could shop at, some stores were well beyond my budget. Even within the stores I visited, I often had to decide between buying organic or sticking with regular GMO options. Interestingly, non-GMO foods were only slightly more expensive than regular items, yet I felt a strange reluctance and hesitation towards them. I felt an inexplicable hesitation that always steered me toward regular products, and my decision was complicated by quality and price. While non-organic foods are typically cheaper, no one can definitively say if they provide fewer nutrients or come with long-term risks, such as genetic unknowns or chemical toxins. If food were just food, these choices wouldn't feel so overwhelming. The literature on GMO and organic foods is robust, but the direction is all over the place, leaving me more confused than informed on which to choose. However, one thing became clear. When you're on a budget like me, purchasing happens in stages. You might start with a list or a rough idea of what you need, but once you're in the store, the decision shifts. As you pick up an item, your eyes scan the price, and your mind weighs the option whether to spend more or save. Even then, your choice isn't final. You can change your mind at checkout or even return the item days later if you're not completely satisfied. The truth is that price becomes the significant factor in every purchase you make. My research didn't stop at food. I realized that most grocery stores I visited didn't just sell food items. They were outfitting entire lifestyles. From fresh produce and kitchenware to bedroom furniture and high-end electronics, these big-box retailers had everything I needed to furnish my small apartment. It became clear that this was more than just convenience. It was a strategic trend. Mega stores are now designed to meet nearly all our general needs under one roof, eliminating the need to shop elsewhere unless you wanted something highly specific. Our lives and needs are becoming increasingly uniform, turning us into consumers of the same products and services, no matter the location or retailer. We have become more generic than ever. At times, I wondered if I should skip the bank entirely and let the stores manage my salary instead. All I do is work, shop, and pay bills. They could deduct my expenses directly, leaving me with whatever was left at the end of the month, if anything, after paying my rent. Undoubtedly, if the 4 major stores in my area were to merge, they would control the entire market, affecting nearly every aspect of my life. Some already offer auto services, tool rentals, and even delivery options, blurring the line between retailer and essential service provider. Even the popular lemonade that kids used to raise some bucks in the past wasn't spared. The stores now sell varieties of lemonade and almost everything else. The more I shopped, the more I realized how deeply these mega stores had embedded themselves into modern living. Amazingly, every time I visited, it felt as though the stores knew exactly what I wanted. They were always prepared. Their shelves were neatly arranged, with the products I needed positioned right at eye level. If I didn't want to shop in person, they offered online options and home delivery services, perfect for when I was too busy or simply lazy. Even online stores weren't much different. They advertised everything from my Google searches or just regular conversation with people. The online stores sold everything from furniture and food to appliances, vitamins, and supplements, all just a click away. It wasn't just the stores in my immediate area that met my needs. Curious to see the bigger picture, I decided to fuel up my Prius and drive around town to explore the locations of these stores. Unsurprisingly, the stores were strategically clustered within a certain radius of each other, and even new housing developments had similar stores under construction to capture the market. This pattern wasn't limited to retail. I also examined another essential aspect of modern life: phone and internet service providers. As expected, companies in this space were already well positioned to meet these needs. In my area, the options for internet came down to just two major providers: Xfinity and CenturyLink. Similarly, phone service was dominated by a few key players, including AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Even if you wanted to bring your own phone, the market was essentially cornered by two tech giants, iPhones and Samsung. It's easy to predict the phone, internet, and service I use. My options, like everyone else's, are limited and generic. But when I compare my choices to those of my bosses and senior colleagues, the difference is clear. Their selections, though generic as well, reflect a level of comfort and exclusivity that remains out of reach for me, at least for now. Transportation and lifestyle choices. What about the car I was driving to meet my transportation needs? My situation here was slightly different. While there were plenty of car manufacturers and more options to choose from, the real challenge was deciding whether to buy a new car with monthly payments, purchase an older car from a dealer and still make payments, or buy a used car directly from the owner. Of course, all these decisions were constrained by my salary, which effectively set my budget. Unlike the abundance of car dealerships in my area, I found it fascinating how auto parts stores seemed strategically clustered. Napa, O'Reilly, Advance Auto Parts, and AutoZone were all located within just a few miles of each other, seemingly designed to capture the entire market in the area. Their prices were often identical or differed by only a few dollars. For someone in my income bracket, these stores were essential, but I also had other options. Junkyards in the area and salvage auctions like IAAI or parts on eBay offered more affordable ways to source parts if needed. Insurance and healthcare reality. Next came insurance, and the pattern wasn't much different. While there were more than 20 health insurance companies, the major ones I encountered were Cigna, Humana, Kaiser Permanente, and Blue Cross Blue Shield. Whether you chose an HMO or PPO, the premiums were strikingly similar, and for some reason, whether by design or bureaucracy, their policies were almost impossible to decipher. One would need a well-trained agent or an advanced degree from them to fully understand the 1,000 directions in each plan. I recall sitting in a work meeting years ago when a colleague openly expressed frustration over his healthcare cost. His coverage still left him with hefty out-of-pocket expenses, and to put it lightly, he wasn't happy. My own experience wasn't much better. The bill I got from the same healthcare provider 2 years ago left me feeling concerned and worried about how I could pay for a simple 3-day hospital observational stay. It was almost half of my annual salary. That number hit me hard. How was this even possible? And how was it sustainable to charge so much even after many years of paying premium without a single hospital visit? What I reckoned, after calling their customer care to ask about the bill, was that the insurance company actually made the bill and also decided what I should pay out of pocket. I was confounded by the system. From a broader perspective, the market appears dominated by a few major corporations, confusing the line between capitalism and oligopoly for me. Or is this a modern form of capitalism? Also, I realized my job provided me with a salary that placed me in a precarious balancing act, walking a tightrope called a budget, and as such, I typically couldn't afford to buy the most expensive items on the shelf, the priciest car, or use premium services. And for a long time now, my financial decisions have unconsciously always been calculated in my head to prevent my delicate financial situation from shifting from stable to strained or critical. So, what does this mean for me? Should I change jobs or explore other opportunities? Are there options I haven't considered yet? I decided to first expand my understanding of where I was and how I got there. Switching jobs without understanding the societal structure might be okay for others, but I think this would just put me back in a different problem bracket. I wanted to learn who the major players and owners were behind the businesses that provided the necessities I relied on. Beyond that, I desired a complete mental picture of megacorporations, the oligopolistic market, their shareholders and companies, and my role as a curious employee. How did these companies operate? What force shaped their decision? And more importantly, was my current median income a choice or a design? The deeper I looked, the more questions I turned up with. The pyramid of work. Through reflection, I recognized my workplace as part of a broader hierarchical structure, a pyramid. At the base were employees like me, forming the largest group and handling labor-intensive tasks. Above us were the middle management and executives, the trapezium group. At the apex sat the smallest and the most influential group, the elite decision-makers and shareholders, whom I called the isosceles group. This hierarchy mirrored the structure of corporations of big-box stores like Walmart, where a vast workforce sustains daily operations while a select few at the top shape strategy and policy. The disparity in pay and power between these levels highlights the systemic nature of workplace inequality. What does this mean for my future? The workplace hierarchy presents distinct challenges at various levels. Employees often grapple with questions such as, am I in the right job? Should I change careers? Are there better opportunities available? Could I sustain myself on savings for a few months if I lost my job? Is this it for me? While many value job stability, it frequently seems inadequate to fulfill future aspirations in an ever-changing economy. To navigate these uncertainties, I've realized the importance of understanding the broader dynamics at play, how corporations operate, how decisions are made, and how resources are distributed, and why the mechanisms that govern the flow of money and opportunity seem designed to maintain the status quo, leaving individuals like me to grapple with the limitations imposed by our income brackets and any inflationary surprises. A call for change. While I don't yet have all the answers, this journey of reflection has opened my eyes to the complexities of navigating modern work and life. I hope to stretch my understanding further, exploring not only my own circumstances but also the larger systems that shape them. In doing so, I hope to uncover new opportunities and strategies for breaking free from the constraints of my current reality, and to learn what success means at the top, along with how to navigate it using their principles. For now, I continue to observe, learn, and seek clarity about the hierarchical system shaping work and life. Knowledge at this point is better than jumping into conclusions or changing paths without a good understanding of the structure I found myself in today. Chapter 2. The Pyramid Base Group. The base group of the pyramid, real lives shared struggle. The base group. Here I was at the base, just another employee and a consumer of goods and services. My primary contribution was at my job, and beyond that my relevance diminished. Outside of work and perhaps family and friends, I was invisible. This isn't unique to me. Many people share the same characteristics. Final consumers and employees of large corporations or mid-level establishments. The base group is diverse, including individuals from low to high middle income levels. Amazingly, I found that many managers, especially mid-level managers, also fell into this category. Despite higher pay and respect, mid-level managers primarily oversee people and resources, making them functionally similar to regular employees. They had limited powers and no significant influence over the company's strategic direction compared to regional managers or CEOs of the company. The vision and direction were left to the company's executives. So, even managers were essentially just well-paid employees and consumers. We all consumed products from the trapezium and isosceles groups. It dawned on me that, unlike the owners and major shareholders of the companies I worked for, we were all essentially laborers, whether specialized or not, and our pay would never be enough, no matter how long or hard we worked. Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, once joked that even at $2,000 per hour, An employee working 40 hours a week would need 2,000 years to earn $8 billion, which is less than 10% of his $425 billion net worth at the time. If you do the math, that means it would take 250 years of working 40-hour weeks to earn $1 billion, assuming you saved every dollar you made. Do you know 10 people who make $2,000 per hour? Or anyone who has saved everything they've earned for the past 250 years? I don't. This was because the pay was either designed to be tantalizingly small, enough to keep us coming back for more, or taxes were structured to keep us within a system that served the government. It wasn't necessarily a setup or an intentional design, but once I saw the pattern, it certainly felt like one: the purpose of the base group. For me, the base wasn't just a position in the workforce. It was the target market for the goods and services provided by those in the higher tiers. I was part of the pool of employees that big corporations hired to fill roles that kept their businesses running. Even if I wasn't employed by them, I was still a consumer of their products and services. In other words, I existed as both a worker and a paying customer, a hand to build their vision and a wallet with a number attached to it. I had to admit, there was something comforting and reassuring about knowing these companies were working to make life more convenient for me and others like me. In return, I played my part in keeping their dreams alive. At least I was good for something. But despite this, I often felt trapped. My salary could remain stagnant while they manipulate the prices of goods and services, with no real concern for whether I got a raise or how inflation affected me. My only leverage was to quit, negotiate overtime, or find additional work to supplement my income. I'm not seeking pity or sympathy, just stating an observation. These corporations controlled both the job market and the consumer market, and I noticed that most people in my position were their primary customers. Unless they planned to sell or rent their products to aliens, we were their only real market on planet Earth, or we were enablers of their market. Another realization hit me. The companies that employed me and those that sold me goods and services were often separate entities, yet they all belonged to the same category: those who held the wealth and power, the isosceles group. They didn't need to conspire to control people like me. The structure of the system already ensured that we remained in place: small business owners. Within the base group, there are some members who are not just consumers or employees but also business owners. These include small businesses, startups, and local shops such as tea shops, restaurants, coffee shops, and other small businesses within our communities. These are typically businesses that are not nationally recognized or on a global scale like large companies or franchises. This subgroup is one step away from being solely employees themselves, and they are vulnerable to events such as a pandemic or a severe economic downturn, which could abruptly halt their operations and leave them dependent on a job, just like me and others in the lower and mid-sections of the base group. Even within the base group, a hierarchy exists: the unemployed at the bottom, workers in the middle, and small business owners at the top. This realization unsettled me, as it suggested that others might envy or even rob someone like me with a modest budget, especially if they had little to their name. I suspect the struggle is not solely between the base and upper tiers but also within the base itself. Although crimes such as break-ins, assaults, robberies, thefts, and drug-related activities are common in low-income neighborhoods, their occurrence still took me by surprise. This concern grew when I considered the small business owners in my neighborhood, who, despite being part of the base group, occupy the top rung and would be targeted by lower members of the group. I understand that robberies happen, but the idea that small businesses are typical victims is particularly worrisome. These entrepreneurs have worked tirelessly to build their businesses to support themselves, and the community, and having them robbed is not the way to show any form of gratitude or acknowledgement. My apprehensions were confirmed 6 weeks later after writing, when a family-owned grocery store experienced its first break-in just 5 months after opening. While such incidents are not uncommon, I now have a clearer understanding of why they occur. I believe the perpetrators, perhaps deterred by the heavy security of big box stores, targeted a local establishment within their own reach. Dependency on basic necessities. The inherent hierarchy within the pyramid has been an eye-opener, and this structure highlights our collective dependency on essential needs such as food, transportation, and housing. Not in a bad way, but as I saw it, it was simply a reality of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Our salaries wouldn't allow us to seek any self-actualization in the hierarchy, but our hope would be at least to satisfy our primary needs first. In addition, we were now dependent on those above the base to provide these things for us, not because we couldn't do it ourselves, but because the groups above had figured it out first, or they had the resources and made competition tough for the rest of us. I think we get so caught up in working for them that we have little time to think about anything beyond work, and to worry about the rising costs of things in the market. The truth is, when you work all day, you don't come back home trying to figure out how to solve other people's problems. You just want to eat, sleep, and rest. In a way, the upper groups controlled the work-life balance of the base group, though perhaps unknowingly, or maybe not. The easiest thing for me to do was find deals and be content, rather than resort to depression meds and adding more burden to society. Yes, such a realization can be troubling and may cause you to promptly reevaluate your personal goals and purpose. On the bright side, the other groups were generous enough to pay me sufficiently to cover my basic needs, with a little extra to keep me motivated. Also, there were PTOs, pay raises for long-term commitment and meeting performance targets, vacations, and other perks to keep me happy. And of course, there was the American dream, a vision to strive for. The belief that if I worked hard enough and dreamed big enough, things would eventually fall into place. What I enjoyed most about my research on how to get by on a limited budget was discovering how many sales stores held each year. I hadn't realized there were so many. These sales kept stores vibrant, helped the year feel dynamic, and offered a fresh look while signaling the changing seasons. I won't burden you with every specific sale I found, but it's worth noting that most stores host at least 2 sales each month. I typically waited for Black Friday, but my research revealed that stores advertise various sales throughout the year, and you can discover them by visiting. Additionally, these discounts are often offered toward the end of each season to make space for new products. You won't believe it, but some suppliers do not want unsold items sent back to them because of shipping cost or other logistics or company reasons. Retailers often lack storage space for old inventory when new stock arrives, hence the flood of irresistible sales phrases designed to capture our attention and move products fast. Here are some typical examples. Flash sale, limited time offer, get it for less, more for your money, buy one. Get one free, stretch your budget, 0 down, 2 for the price of 1, 50% off everything, unbeatable prices, final clearance, everything must go, today only, massive markdowns, deals too good to miss, price/frenzy, stock up and save. The sheer size and significance of the base. The other thing I noticed about the group I was in was its sheer size. Why was I surprised? The base of the pyramids in Egypt is massive and strong. You need a solid foundation to support what's on top. But was this natural or just a coincidence? An inverted pyramid would collapse without external support. Newton's first and third laws alone cannot keep this structure stable. However, when the base is at the bottom, everything works out well naturally. The size of the base comes with the burden of untold weight, and it's expected to cushion the effects of changes at the top. He that is down needs fear no fall. John Bunyan. In our situation, the base deals with the effects of natural disasters, tax increases, inflation, societal imbalance, and other circumstances beyond human control disproportionately, compared to the other groups. Unlike a traditional pyramid, our pyramid's base can expand, much like the mud-covered station wagon in Mile 81 by Stephen King, absorbing individuals from the upper groups when misfortune strikes, or take in those who can't withstand the surge of human greed and conflict at the top. Because of its size, I see this group of people as dispensable, more like pawns on a chessboard. I say this respectfully, but a simple ad on Indeed.com could replace me in a matter of days or weeks compared to the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. In your case, the timeline may vary depending on your skill set and relevance, but in the end, we are all replaceable. Particularly as we age and eventually retire, businesses must continue to exist. In simple terms, the need to hire new workers and to keep the business running can be thought of as a mathematical constant, while the worker is simply a variable that can be swapped out with time. The market. It also became clear that size is important from a business perspective. The volume of sales or services is essential for most companies, and the size of the base group contributes significantly to the market and success of the isosceles and trapezium groups. An individual's wealth creation within the pyramid is largely dependent on the volume of sales and the quality of products sold or service provided. In fact, the visibility and persistence of a product, driven by effective marketing and advertisement, directly translates to sales for the company. Let me throw some quick statistics at you for a moment. Walmart serves over 240 million customers globally each week. Amazon typically sees over 160 million monthly shoppers online, and Starbucks gets around 100 million visits per week. CVS, the retail pharmacy giant, serves about 4.5 million daily customers, and Wells Fargo estimates around 33 million digital active customers. If I were in business, I would gladly welcome these numbers and leverage the opportunity. Certainly, big companies scale up by casting wider nets to bring in more people and profits. And there is no better place to attract customers than the base group in most societies. As of 2023, there were 22 million millionaires in the United States, making up about 6.6% of the population. So from the statistics I threw at you, it is easy to deduce where Walmart and others are seeing all these numbers and why they are so many sales year-round. Similarly, most governments in developed countries rely on loan repayments and taxes from their citizens to meet their obligations, and the volume of people paying these taxes is crucial to them. Typically, this comes from the large number of workers in the base group. This group is primarily made up of employees, and the bulk of them are the consumers of goods and services, which in turn generate taxes. Therefore, even governments would encourage businesses to expand and hire more people from the base group, who would then pay taxes to the government. Taking it a step further, I reviewed the population of most countries, and from my understanding, this trend held true. The base group comprised millions to billions of people relative to the other groups. The base is typically the largest population segment in most countries. It dawned on me that if the top group could get 1,002 people from the base group to subscribe to a service or purchase a product for just $2 or more, they could generate millions in a matter of days, weeks, or at most, a month. I know this is easier said than done, but it's satisfying just to think of it. Though this concept differs from selling luxury products to a few, it also works, and top companies use it all the time. If they scaled up the product or service to an affordable price, it could generate a substantial amount of revenue and create a steady income stream. Clearly, what you need to become a millionaire is in the hands of others. All you need is something of value they would want to exchange for their cash. Those in the isosceles group understand this well, the price model. I quickly visited the stores in my neighborhood and found products that were priced under $20. I observed the carts of most shoppers, and yes, their carts were filled with these items. I wondered if this was happening in every store. Again, I made visits to many stores and even drove to another city 50 miles away, and the observation was similar. Using myself as a point of reference, I realized I could casually spend small amounts, ranging from $1 to $30 or even $50, on essential items without much consideration, because in my head it won't significantly affect my financial situation. But we all know things add up fast, even small things like drops of water. For most of the stores I visited, the products were typically within that price range, and they were flying off the shelves, as you would expect. Members of the isosceles and trapezium groups were well aware of this price model. They kept basic items priced between $2 and $25, including monthly subscriptions to services like Netflix or memberships to stores like Costco. A simple Google search reveals that over 50% of Walmart's revenue comes from groceries, which are usually within that price range I mentioned. General merchandise accounts for about half that number, and the majority of the sales for general products roll in during events like Black Friday and other holidays, where items like TVs, tires, and other major purchases are discounted. The upper groups seem to have it all figured out, even knowing my purchasing habits better than I did, and created targeted sales to keep me coming back. As it turns out, humans repeat their behaviors often enough for the top groups to know what we'll buy, when we'll buy it, and at what price. It got so precise that apps started sending me deals under $50, perfectly aligned with my browsing history. This tech giants and their algorithms had us all figured out. We used their applications to search for items, and our phone and computer's audio and video functions were at their disposal. And we had no idea who knows our location or who was listening to our conversations or using our cameras. Before you finish talking or even thinking about an item, the data machine magically starts showing you ads for that item and a range of related items. In the future, I believe, the devices would read your thoughts before they come out of your mouth or ink on a screen. There was more at play here than just the prices. I observed that the cost of these so-called affordable items added up quickly when it was time to pay. Almost like magic, the grocery prices of $3.99, $12.99, and $17.95 for many of the items I bought added up to over $200 plus taxes when it was time to check out. Initially, when I added these items to my cart, they seemed cheap and affordable in my mind, but the total quickly added up. A friend tried this recently and was shocked when the total came to $327.34. She isn't alone in this. Many others in the base group across the country were exchanging this range of cash for goods. I couldn't stop there. I had to find out what happened in other stores I didn't shop at because of the prices. The trend was similar with members of the trapezium group. The difference I noticed was that they could afford to spend larger sums on the same necessities, albeit in smaller quantities. While I hesitated at the point of purchase, members of the trapezium group added items to their carts without any consideration. They needed it, no questions asked, no debates. And like I observed, they quickly realized how everything added up at the counter. The other difference was that individuals in the middle and isosceles groups didn't flinch when paying because they could afford it. They just swiped their credit cards and that was it. They had the money or credit to make these purchases, so they worried less about the total. It didn't take long for me to realize that the trapezium and isosceles groups understood that the easiest way to get out of the rat race is by collecting from a large number of people, rather than laboring many years for periodic salaries. They had devised and created companies that allowed them to collect from others in exchange for goods or services. Years of laborious work for pay didn't work for them. Instead, they spent years figuring out how to establish businesses that would collect from others. I suppose they all knew that profits are better than wages. Come to think of it from their perspective, the minimum wage grind and the excitement I felt over the few increases on my paycheck seemed far too slow and would only afford me a limited life. I mean, which would you prefer? Laboring until retirement for paychecks or providing a basic necessity to millions of people and still living a comfortable life? Choices and paths. As I stood in the store, I felt like I had chosen a different path from the people around me. While many of us spent most of our time working to make the businesses of the higher groups thrive for a salary, they spent their time brainstorming ideas and finding ways to market them. In the end, I had chosen the safety net of a steady job, driven by passion, while they took risks to get more out of life. When we came to the marketplace, I was buying from them, while they were, in a sense, buying from themselves or from their profits. I wouldn't exactly give a big high five to the universe for my luck, but I'm grateful things turned out the way they did, and I've come to realize what's really going on. Still, I knew there was more to uncover about myself and how I ended up here. How did I end up in this group, and why was I just now coming to terms with it? Had others already figured out this structure and I was just stating the obvious? Or I was the new kid on the lower floor, wondering how and why. But first, I wanted to see how things worked on the upper floors, those I wasn't a part of, and get a glimpse into their world. Moving beyond the base. My experience at the base of the pyramid revealed both the vulnerabilities and opportunities inherent in this position. While the system often feels rigged against us, understanding its mechanisms can empower us to think differently. By leveraging the sheer size of the base group and identifying ways to provide value within it, there is potential to rise above the confines of this layer. Take Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx, as an example of a former member of the base group. Starting with a $5,000 savings account, she identified a gap in the market and built a billion-dollar empire. Blakely's journey from selling fax machines to becoming a self-made billionaire showcases how innovation and resilience can transform one's position within the pyramid from a salary to a profit structure. The challenge lies in stepping away from the safety net of employment and embracing the risks and rewards of creating something that others would willingly support. Realizing this empowered me to reframe from my own approach and seek a path beyond the base of the pyramid, not just for myself, but as an example for others in similar position. The power of collective action. What about using unions to fight for better pay and benefits? Collective action is powerful, and unions have historically helped base group members secure better wages and working conditions. However, the hierarchy I observed is deeply entrenched and difficult to challenge with occasional work stoppages alone. But I wonder if they can do more than fight for wages. Can they learn from the isosceles group and create something that employs instead of seeking employment? They can't always rely on their employers to do the right thing or treat them fairly. Business is about profit, and companies aim to grow that number every year, something you can't change. Companies like Costco has been different and has demonstrated that treating employees well can still lead to profitability. By offering fair wages and benefits, Costco not only retains a loyal workforce but also earns consumer trust, proving that businesses can thrive while uplifting those at the base. The stories of individuals and organizations finding ways to rise and help others rise are beacons of hope. They remind us that while the system may seem stacked against the base group, change is possible through innovation, strategy, and collective effort. Understanding this dynamic is the first step toward transforming our place within the pyramid and inspiring others to do the same. Chapter 3. The Pyramid Trapezium Group. The trapezium group of the pyramid. As I ascended the metaphorical pyramid, I arrived at what I call the trapezium group, also known as the middle group. This group represented a broad and complex assortment of individuals, professionals, businesses, and organizations. Unlike the base and isosceles groups, the trapezium group was difficult to neatly classify. Its members occupied a unique position within the economic hierarchy, contributing significantly to the functioning of the larger societal ecosystem, a diverse middle. Within this group, I observed a spectrum of participants. This category encompasses a diverse mix of individuals, professionals, companies, and organizations, making classification challenging. Among this group, I noticed owners of mid-sized stores or companies, positioned between the mega-chain businesses of the isosceles group and the local stores in the base group. At the top tier, we find founders of national companies, their CEOs, and leading professionals. At the lower end of this spectrum are highly valued specialists employed by mega companies, individuals indispensable to their industries. However, the middle section is murky and hard to distinguish. Some members of this segment manage businesses for the isosceles group or act as key suppliers of materials and services to large corporations. For example, Atcor produces electrical and metal products used by construction companies to build residential and commercial buildings, thus contributing to the availability of housing as a basic necessity. Another role they fulfill is providing basic necessities to the base group, though on a smaller scale. Owners of gyms, laundromats, dollar stores, and other franchises fall into this category. Despite their ambiguous classification, all members of the middle group engage with the base group for the same purpose, generating revenue for their companies or supporting the isosceles group, which in turn employs the base group. In a sense, the base group serves as the engine that drives the economy. They provide the market, the labor force, and the volume for government taxes. But this only works because the other groups provide the money and vision that guide these efforts. The lower slice of the trapezium group. The lower segment of the trapezium group comprises highly paid professionals and others who depend on mid-level or mega companies for employment and business opportunities. While there's nothing wrong with being a professional, in the event of job loss or certain challenges, individuals in this group would typically default to the base group if I were to consider a vertical movement down the pyramid. This group includes people like my bosses at work who earn tens of thousands to millions each year, but they are also employees, and that job could disappear someday, leaving them in the same position as someone at the base. Conversely, individuals in this layer can leverage their resources to establish businesses and climb the pyramid, transitioning into entrepreneurship or company founders. This subgrouping is not intended to establish one group as superior to another or imply that one profession holds greater importance. Instead, it aimed to provide a clearer understanding of the population in society. We often hear about small startups operating out of basements and kitchens, as well as global giants like Amazon, which began in a garage. It's important to recognize that small companies can grow into large corporations, and mega conglomerates were once small and medium-sized businesses themselves. Therefore, there are opportunities in between, such as gyms, bakeries, spa treatment facilities, clinics, software companies, and other emerging businesses that could someday serve as the foundation or nucleation site for big corporations. The upper slice of the trapezium. Another significant aspect of the trapezium group is the invaluable work carried out by CEOs and executives across the entire group. These individuals keep the wheels of megacorporations turning smoothly. They are visionaries who can distill what the market wants from the noise around them. In my opinion, they are the true heroes behind the success of companies, and the isosceles group relies on them for leadership. While the names of these executives may change over time, corporations and shareholders generally retain them as long as the business is thriving. During my research, notable executives included Oliver Bloom, Volkswagen, Hans Vestberg, Verizon, Tim Cook, Apple Inc., John Pearson, DHL, Doug McMillon, Walmart, Mary Barra, General Motors, Paula Fendi, and Donnie D. King, Tyson Foods. I also noticed that CEOs like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, Warren Buffett, and others were not employees of their companies and would likely never descend to the base group of the pyramid unless something drastic or catastrophic happened to their fortune. However, my focus here is on executives who are hired into a role and are subject to potential termination if the business experiences a downturn. Chapter 4. The Isosceles Group. The Isosceles Group. At the top of the pyramid are wealthy individuals, megacorporations, and major investors. They occupy a small portion of the population, forming what I approximate as an isosceles triangle. It's important to note that their prominence stems not only from their wealth but also from their roles in making goods and services accessible to the masses. Though they may not directly produce these essentials, they facilitate their availability through entrepreneurial ventures. Notable companies in this group include Apple Inc., Saudi Aramco, Microsoft Corporation, Amazon.com Inc., Alphabet Inc., Google, Meta Platforms Inc., formerly Facebook, Tencent Holdings Limited, Tesla Inc., Alibaba Group Holding Limited, as well as financial powerhouses like Vanguard, BlackRock, and Berkshire Hathaway Inc. Retail giants such as Walmart and Costco also belong to this category. Prominent investors in this group include Warren Buffett, known as the Oracle of Omaha, chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway; George Soros, founder of Soros Fund; Carl Icahn, a renowned activist investor with significant influence in companies such as TWA, Texaco, and Netflix; Ray Dalio, founder of Bridgewater Associates; Peter Lynch, a legendary investor and manager of the Magellan Fund at Fidelity Investments; Benjamin Graham, revered as the father of value investing, his principles continue to shape modern financial strategies; John Bogle, revolutionized the investment industry with the creation of the first index fund and the founding of Vanguard Group. Me, I am an employee who arrives at work on time from Monday to Friday. I diligently complete my tasks, maintaining a strong work ethic and fostering positive relationships with my colleagues. I strive to leave a lasting impression on my peers and superiors during meetings while balancing my professional and personal life. Compared to the influential figures in the isosceles group, my name holds little weight. This simply means I have yet to reach their level. The isosceles group possesses a unique advantage. These individuals and corporations have the connections and resources to establish businesses that cater to my needs as well as those of the base group. They identify mass market demand and transform them into accessible products and services. This is a good thing because I don't have to plant vegetables on a farm to get groceries or make a salad, grow wheat to bake bread, or build a toaster to make toast. These things are all available in stores, thanks to the efforts of members of this group. I don't need to fell a tree for wood, make nails, or dig for limestone to produce cement and concrete for a house. Again, this group connects the dots and makes these things accessible to me at the store. I had never considered it deeply, but these companies are like the magical elves of adulthood and the unseen architects of modern convenience, reducing chaos and simplifying our lives. They streamline the sourcing, production, packaging, marketing, distribution, and even the recycling of my waste. They are the logistical masterminds that make the modern world possible. This group includes the owners and executives of major hypermarket retailers such as Walmart, Target, and Home Depot, along with e-commerce giants like Alibaba, Amazon, and eBay. These establishments provide everything from food and cookware to clothing, furniture, and medicine, with vast inventories. My research revealed that direct production or cultivation is not necessary to enter this category. Joining this group requires the ability to source both human and material resources, coordinate production or procurement, and efficiently deliver goods and services to consumers. Most importantly, it requires the idea that sets everything in motion. The isosceles group comprises visionary strategists and organizers of goods and services. They excel at building enterprises from the ground up through comprehensive analysis and planning. And all this makes it possible for us to sit like a couch potato and just click a button to get what we want or need. They turn your convenience into their business. People like Jeff Bezos are obsessed with customer satisfaction. Fast food, fast impact. Another subgroup within the isosceles group that has mastered the art of putting it all together includes fast food chain owners like McDonald's, Starbucks, and other popular franchises, which have become go-to destinations for fast food or quick meals. Millions of consumers, including my coworkers and bosses, visit these eateries each year, contributing to billions of dollars in annual sales. McDonald's serves approximately 25 million customers daily, Starbucks draws another 100 million visitors, and Chick-fil-A hosts about 12 million visitors per week. The major shareholders, investors, and owners of these establishments form a small, upper segment of the population pyramid, catering to the demand for fast, tasty, and convenient food. Just like everyone else, when I feel lazy to cook or tired of the same old meals, I frequent these fast food chains. Every time, it feels like they throw a wild party for my taste buds, inviting my whole mouth to this heavenly goodness, leaving me addicted and helpless, coming back again and again. I just can't resist the wow factor each time I visit. I believe you'd feel the same. I often wonder what makes their food so irresistible. Honestly, I have no idea. In any case, that's why they make the big bucks every year. But if you go back to the kitchen, you won't find the CEO flipping burgers. The assembly line would be all members of the base group. The isosceles group is great at putting human resources together to get a final product, and that is the genius they possess. Real estate and the roof over our heads. Grocery and fast food aren't the only offerings from the isosceles group. They are also involved in residential and commercial housing. This includes real estate companies and the owners and developers of the massive structures I visit during trips, as well as my small apartment. My research highlighted notable names like Keller Williams Realty, R.E. Max, and Coldwell Banker, which provide office spaces, buildings, and homes for rent or purchase. Temporary housing and rentals are managed by companies such as Greystar Real Estate Partners and Alliance Residential Company, which oversee vast numbers of residential units across multiple countries. These giants are everywhere. I was just waking up to how widespread and far-reaching this group is, from my tiny apartment to locations overseas. I believe this group spans the earth and may even stretch to other, yet unknown, planets. Banks, the backbone of financial stability. What about the small sum of money I had left after spending my entire salary on necessities? Yes, you're right. The isosceles group was there to help me keep those leftovers in their banks. And once again, the banks are owned by the isosceles group. While the banking industry may not be a basic necessity, it is essential to managing my meager salary. Banks work hand in hand with insurance companies, helping to keep other aspects of my life running smoothly. Both industries are integral parts of the isosceles group. Commercial banks such as J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo play a crucial role in the economy, providing essential services like deposits, loans, and regulatory compliance. The owners and CEOs of these banks, along with their families and major stakeholders, make up another vital slice of the pyramid in this service provider category. Insurance companies, risk protection. In my view, insurance companies are similar to banks. They take your money in the form of a premium or deposit, but you can't withdraw it until you have a definite, pressing need for it, as outlined in their policies. These policies are typically something you're required to sign, or else you have no choice but to comply. Nevertheless, they play a vital role by offering coverage and protection against various risks. My research showed that this group of companies covers just about everything you can think of: home, fire, motor, property, travel, tickets, and more. In fact, just name it, and they'll find a way to cover it. There's also life insurance, and I believe one day they might even insure the unborn and the afterlife. All they want is that premium from my small savings to bolster their financial power. Industry giants like State Farm Group and Berkshire Hathaway, along with global players like Ping and Insurance and Alliance, provide reassurance and financial security to individuals and businesses. At times, I think they deliberately sell fear in exchange for premiums. Don't get me wrong, things do happen, and accidents are real, but the force, vigor, and ads promoted by this group are intense. In my humble opinion, this segment of the population pyramid holds great significance and should not be underestimated but revered. Why? Because a significant portion of today's necessities, as I figured out, is interwoven with insurance companies, whose influence extends far and wide. These companies generate substantial revenues and possess considerable market capitalization due to the essential services they provide, and the multitude of policies contracted each year. Automotive giants. Finally, the automotive industry has replaced the horse and buggy with gas-powered engines, as well as electric, wave, and hydrogen-powered vehicles. They cannot be ignored or overlooked, given their significant impact, both as a direct result of suburbanization and in terms of the immense revenue generated by members of this group. The fierce competition among manufacturers to produce the highest number of vehicles and achieve the most sales each year further strengthens their position within the isosceles group in the pyramid. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the auto industry in this segment. The description above offers a glimpse into the prosperous isosceles group of the pyramid. Although it is not an exhaustive representation of my research, it is worth sharing. The common thread among the individuals and companies in this group is their ability to offer a wide range of products and services that are essential to my daily life. Ultimately, it all boils down to the needs and desires of society, and to the individuals who have the capability to fulfill them through production, logistics, and the efforts they make to bring goods and services to the marketplace. Pyramid flow dynamics and dependency. So, how does it all work and fit together? What's the mechanism of the pyramid? From my simple analysis, it turns out that the pyramid is a self-sustaining ecosystem. It operates in unison, with each layer fully understanding its role and function. The layers act as modular parts of a machine, communicating like interconnected pods while remaining unified with the resources necessary to run. As it turns out, the base group represents a significant market opportunity, with its large population encompassing low-income earners, the middle class, and high-income earners. The necessities I needed to keep going, along with my current job, were elements of trade, and the isosceles group recognized both my needs and those of the base group, fulfilling them effectively. Members of the isosceles group maintain a symbiotic relationship with the base group, much like a well-oiled machine or pulley system. The upper echelons of the group provide essential goods, employment, and services to the base, while the base reciprocates by working as employees and contributing monetary resources to the isosceles group. The trapezium group collaborates closely with the isosceles group to ensure seamless operations. They manage the entire system, if you will. This interconnected mechanism has functioned smoothly for many years, ensuring a mutually beneficial exchange. This relationship extends to every segment of the pyramid, forming numerous smaller pyramids within each segment. In these subpyramids, the upper levels provide goods and services to the base, while the base contributes to the wealth empire of those at the top. This cycle continues, extending even to the broader pyramid structure. For some reason, I believe there is a delicate balance between the workings of each segment. Any imbalance can cause chaos, and countries that try to manipulate the system often experience infighting, rebellion, or severe poverty. The system feels almost natural and fair. The pyramid is a living organism, functioning as one with different interdependent parts, and they rely on each other. I conducted an experiment to illustrate the mechanism in my mind. Here's a quick example of how this well-oiled machine in the major pyramid functions. I took a photo of the label on a bottle of ground turmeric, a food spice I picked up from my local store. Product category: food spices, herbs, and flavorings. Price: less than $10 at my local Walmart, which is typically affordable for the base group based on the price model. It's affordable to me without much struggle at the point of purchase. The seller: Walmart, a member of the esteemed isosceles group. The distributor or manufacturer: McCormick & Co., Inc. Position in the pyramid: McCormick is a Fortune 500 company, making it a member of the isosceles group. Employees: 14,000 employees worldwide, the majority of whom are members of the base group. The average salary ranges from approximately $41,091 per year for a warehouse technician to $162,000 per year for a vice president, according to Indeed.com. The lower range employees are from the base pyramid group, while the upper range employees may come from the trapezium or the upper part of the base group. Executives, CEO, or President: Lawrence E. Curzius, Chairman, President, and CEO, hired through an acquisition and falling under the trapezium group. Lawrence was the CEO at the time of writing. Revenue: US $6.317 billion, fiscal year ended November 30, 2021. Profit: US $0.755 billion, fiscal year ended November 30, 2021. Note, the intention here is not to conclude that all the wealth came from just one product, in this case, ground turmeric, nor am I implying that the money was made from a single store. This is simply an experiment to see how the data fits into my pyramid and to better understand its structure. I noticed that even a basic product like turmeric is manufactured and sold by members of the isosceles group at an affordable price that the base group can easily purchase. In turn, the base group works for the isosceles group and buys their products. Thus, employment, products, and some services flow from the top of the pyramid to the bottom, while small contributions, such as product sales from a large population base, flows back to the top, building a wealth empire. Furthermore, the exchange of products for money and labor for a salary is a fair trade. I make this kind of exchange year-round as I visit these stores. Another way I completed the exercise was by saving all my receipts for the year and repeating the test to determine how much I had contributed to the growth of the isosceles group members in exchange for necessities. It became clear that I made contributions across all categories of necessities: rent, transportation, communication, entertainment, clothing, and so forth. It would be interesting if you tried the receipt experiments for your designer clothes to see how much you've contributed to Bernard Arnault, Francois Henry Pinault, the Wertheimer family, and other famous fashion brand owners. The truth is, this is not a conspiracy, and there's no need to get bitter or refuse to buy their products. If not them, it would be other companies in the isosceles group anyway. In every developed country, these large companies have already taken the initiative, and soon even underdeveloped nations will be untapped markets for them to enter. What I realized would make me happier is to allocate capital to McCormick or other S&P 500 companies in this category rather than judging them. We all live in the same society. At the time of my research, McCormick stock was $86.38 according to Yahoo Finance, compared to $10.99 in June 2001, a decade ago. Following the Capitalist Code by Ben Stein, I should buy stocks from different companies and hold them until retirement, using the stocks as liquid equity. I also found that compounding a small number yields a small number in today's fast-paced, inflation-driven society, so this is not financial advice. But I believe, as suggested by Ben, investing in what I enjoy over a long period will yield better results than not investing or worrying about the economy. If I follow Ben's formula, I would own small pieces of many companies by the time I retire, which seems like a solid strategy considering I am just beginning to understand the true world I find myself in. My concerns and reservation. After completing this exercise and understanding how the groups in the pyramid interact and operate in a simplified sense, I do have some concerns and reservations. The base group, often referred to as the common man and woman, and my group, is an integral part of every generation, serving as the foundation of society. They navigate life to survive, and while there will always be a high class or the isosceles group, the base group remains a constant in every society, nation, and generation. Concerns about manipulation. My concern lies in the potential manipulation of the other groups by the top group, which possesses significant financial resources and the ability to influence governments through lobbyists, markets, policies, and organizations, or simply through greed. Without proper oversight, the top group could become too dominant and powerful, while many members of the base group may remain unaware of the underlying dynamics due to their busy lives or feelings of helplessness. Additionally, I worry that if the base group diminishes too rapidly, it could significantly disrupt the delicate equilibrium, leading to chaos and instability within the entire system. Acknowledging the contributions of the isosceles. Despite these concerns, I tip my imaginary hat to the isosceles group and applaud them accordingly. This group has solved many problems and made my life easier by providing basic needs in the marketplace for my convenience. One crucial lesson I've learned from this group is the importance of offering essential products or services that the masses simply cannot function without. The sales of these necessities often happen seamlessly, as the isosceles group has a deep understanding of its customers. They offer these indispensable products at competitive prices, and use special holiday promotions and discounts to attract and retain their customer base. However, I still have reservations about the extent of power wielded by the isosceles group. I sincerely hope they heed the wise words of Nikita Khrushchev and avoid exploiting the base group too much. Greed is man-made, and so, when you are profiting from your customers, it's wise to leave some room for growth so that you can continue to benefit from them in the future. Nikita Khrushchev. Concerns about consolidation. I have another concern regarding the isosceles group. They should avoid forming a collective entity and instead operate as distinct individuals and companies. Mergers and acquisitions worry me. If they were to unite, they could amass greater power, exert influence over policies through lobbyists, gain control over more resources, and stifle competition. This could potentially lead to easier and more frequent manipulation of prices for goods and services. Another related concern is the government helping companies in the trapezium and isosceles group stay ahead, granting them new power that could stifle competition and extend their dominance nationally and globally. However, if they remain separate entities and governments stay out of their competitions and does not over-leverage any one company, then the impacts of these companies on the market will depend on the merits of their products, services, and business endeavors. Another question I have is whether the base group can come together to change the fate of the other groups. The picket line has long been used to fight for wage increases and better benefits against the upper groups. Typically, some concessions are gained, such as wage and salary increases or more benefits, but in my opinion, these are nothing compared to what the trapezium and isosceles groups enjoy for generations to come. My fear is that if the base group decides to unite and refuse to buy another iPhone, visit Walmart, or use any services of the isosceles group, even for just a day, chaos could ensue. Hope for balance and fairness. Despite these fears, I hold on to hope. The dynamics of the pyramid are complex, but with awareness and cooperation, a more equitable system is possible. By fostering mutual respect and support among all tiers, society can achieve greater stability and long-term sustainability. It is a delicate dance, but one worth participating in. The alternative is chaos and instability, a risk too great to ignore. Through collective action, responsible leadership, and innovative solutions, we can work toward a future where each group thrives without undermining one another. Chapter 5. The Pyramids of Life in the World. Pyramid Structures, a Historical and International View. One might wonder why I chose a pyramid to represent the economic structure I've observed in society. My answer would be that the pyramid is a physical structure that makes sense to me. A look into history shows I'm not the first to use a pyramid to categorize economic groups. In fact, the pyramid is everywhere. Ancient Egypt wasn't the only civilization to conceive the pyramid. Globally, pyramids have served as social and economic organizational frameworks for countless civilizations. It turns out that the ziggurats in ancient Mesopotamia were powerful symbols of religious devotion and social hierarchy. The upper class lived in luxury and wielded authority, while the lower class toiled to maintain the system. Similarly, medieval European feudal systems were essentially economic pyramids. At the top stood landowning lords and monarchs, while peasants and serfs at the bottom labored to sustain the system, much like the delicate balance I mentioned earlier. Even in the Americas before European contact, Mayan and Aztec pyramids symbolized social hierarchy as much as architectural prowess. At the top sat the ruling class. At the bottom were commoners, farmers, and craftsmen. In both their physical and symbolic forms, these pyramids represent humanity's deep-rooted preference for structured hierarchies. So, when I say the pyramid is nature's way of sustaining civilizations and offers a stable approach to life and work, I might not be exaggerating. How contemporary economies use the pyramid. Even today, the pyramid remains a fundamental organizational structure. Corporations, governments, and the global economy all follow this hierarchical model. Executives and CEOs sit atop most corporations, controlling nearly every aspect of the business. Below them are managers, and at the base, a vast workforce handles daily operations. For instance, Walmart employs over 1.6 million people in the U.S., most of whom work on the front lines managing daily store operations. Above them, store managers, regional managers, and executives occupy the upper tiers of the pyramid. The economic pyramid is evident in the U.S. population as well. While half the population are employees, the rest are not primarily entrepreneurs. Instead, 22% are children and teenagers who are below working age. 18% are retired. The remaining 5% comprises students, stay-at-home parents, caregivers, disabled individuals, and the unemployed. Entrepreneurs and the wealthy account for just 3% of the population. Also, across the world, the economic pyramid is a global phenomenon. A small fraction of the population controls a disproportionate share of wealth. Recent research reveals that half of the world's wealth is owned by the wealthiest 1%, while billions survive on less than $5.50 per day. Despite the vast wealth gap, this imbalance mirrors the rigid hierarchies of ancient civilizations. The global economy also follows a pyramidal structure. Corporations and brand owners with global reach and enormous financial power sit at the top. Below them are manufacturers, distributors, and suppliers. At the very bottom are the laborers, factory and farm workers, most of whom live in developing nations, who sustain the system. Continuity at the expense of advancement. One of the most notable aspects of pyramids is their stability. This stability is their greatest asset and the key to their endurance. The vast base supports the small top, preventing the system from collapsing, while the fancy top provides its beauty and attraction. Economically, the system relies on the lower class for consumption, labor, and compliance. Yet this stability comes at a cost. The very structure that ensures resilience also hinders upward mobility. The pyramid's layers are difficult to penetrate due to its inherent rigidity. Systemic barriers, like inadequate health care, education, and economic opportunities, often trap those at the bottom. Meanwhile, the wealthy and powerful are able to maintain their position in society by passing down their wealth and privilege to future generations. Take the modern gig economy, for example. Millions earn a living through ride-sharing and food delivery apps like Uber and DoorDash. Yet these workers often find themselves at the bottom of the pyramid, with minimal benefits, no job security, and limited opportunities for advancement. However, those at the very top, the platform owners and investors, are the ones making the most money. A quick look at their annual revenue is astonishing. Yet they are never on the roads under the elements like members of the base group. The top tier enjoys the system's stability and profitability, while the base struggles with limited upward mobility. Again, I'm not complaining or blaming any group within the pyramid. It's natural that some people take on the roles of producers and leaders, while others have no choice but to remain consumers and followers. Now that I know I'm in the base group, I have decided to heed the words of Benjamin Disraeli. Never complain, never explain. It means not to complain or explain what you're doing, planning, or where you find yourself. Just do what you need to do and let your actions speak for themselves. The volume model. The base group drives volume. By volume, I mean the volume of sales, number of subscribers, customers, wallets, employees, likes, views, and clicks. For most businesses, success is a numbers game, targeting the base group and even members of other groups. I've always wondered why YouTube ads urge me to click for a free video or trial. If they've figured it out, why do they need to pull me in or tell me about it? I thought generational wealth was the goal. Shouldn't they focus on enriching their own family first? Also, it's puzzling why companies pay YouTube huge sums for ads, only to offer their products or training for free. The answer: volume. These ads reach millions, some enjoy the free product. Others become paying customers, covering costs and driving profit. Every business aims to sell more products if possible. Depending on your product and target customers, the base group can provide sales and customers if you know how to reach them. The volume principle is central to big companies' success strategies. China and India exemplify this. with their vast populations and industries serving both labor and market demand. Their populations serve a dual role, both as a labor force and a massive consumer market. Large population countries that don't leverage their strength in numbers should rethink their approach. They should consider exploiting potential instead of fixating on limitations. A sizable middle class and a strong workforce further bolster the market for essential commodities in many countries. Crises like the pandemic expose global vulnerability to basic needs. Recognizing their population's economic power helps nations build resilience and sustain growth. Big companies at the top of the pyramid leverage vast workforce to produce diverse products. When the Chinese workforce halted production during the pandemic, many countries faced sudden shortages, highlighting the reliance on employees for labor and production, which ultimately benefits the privileged elite. With its vast workforce and diverse industries, China has become a global powerhouse, one the world depends on. Companies and the impact of volume. Many companies thrive on the volume model, serving tens to hundreds of millions of customers. Visa, for example, which serves over 300 million customers. Visa's revenue comes from transaction fees, data processing, licensing, branding, and other charges. These fees generate massive revenue, thanks to Visa's vast customer base. In 2022 alone, Visa recorded revenue exceeding $29 billion, with a net income over $14 billion, averaging more than $1 billion per month. Visa isn't tied to basic necessities, yet its role in global transactions fuels its success. In 2014, Visa processed an astonishing 100 billion transactions globally through its secure data centers. Since its founding in 1976, Visa has faced ups and downs, particularly after unifying national and international credit card licensing under the Visa name. Netflix is another example, boasting over 250 million global subscribers, including over 70 million in the US alone. Subscribers pay monthly fees for access to Netflix's streaming service. With over 70 million US subscribers, Netflix's monthly revenue surpasses the total number of millionaires, about 25 million in the country each month. Most of its subscribers fall within the trapezium and base groups of the pyramid. Netflix's expansion attracts a global audience, growing its subscriber base and strengthening its market presence. By bringing Netflix new subscribers, you create value for the company and earn in return. Some companies serve more customers than the US population, especially national wireless carriers. AT&T, Verizon Wireless, Sprint, and T-Mobile collectively serve over 330 million subscribers, dominating the market with minimal competition. Walmart welcomes over 240 million customers worldwide each week. Amazon draws over 160 million monthly shoppers. Starbucks sees 100 million weekly visits, and CVS serves 4.5 million daily customers. These figures apply to the US market alone, and the list keeps growing. Even a $1 product per customer can be transformative for these companies, and they generate far more. These companies generate billions in revenue, largely from the base and lower to mid trapezium segments of the pyramid. No wonder Mark Cuban said, "You only need to get it right once." One breakthrough has put these companies on the path to success. They have identified valuable products and services with recurring demand and limited competition, exerting significant influence over the decisions, action, and spending habits of every pyramid group. This is just a glimpse of companies using the volume model. Other examples include Delta 110 million customers, iTunes 225 million users, Costco 65 million paying members spending at least $60 annually, and Amazon 190 million Prime subscribers. The list continues with companies like Nintendo Wii, Comcast, Charles Schwab, Chewy, Spotify, and many others. Most of these customers fall within the base and trapezium groups of the pyramid. Notice that the subscription fees or charges are small and fall within the payment limits of the base group. I call this the price model, a strategy where monthly subscriptions stay under $20. Rather than opposing these companies, study their strategies and find ways to work with them, not just as employees but as contractors or business partners. They have the numbers. Find ways to plug in or disrupt them if you can. Opportunities exist for those who seek them. Research your field of interest and find a way to tap into this pipeline. If you generate them business, they will listen to you. The volume model isn't just for big companies. It's a natural principle anyone, including the base group, can leverage to change their lives. Many authors have found success by selling millions of books, ideas, stories, and memoirs using this model. These books resonate because they appeal to a broad audience, particularly those in the base group who make up the market for various products, including essential goods from large companies. This consumer population believes that books like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich have the potential to transform their lives. Hill began in the base group as an employee, a journalist, facing multiple financial struggles, failed business, and many months of instability. His path to wealth followed the volume model. Countless readers, looking for an escape, found hope and inspiration in his books. In today's social media era, many leverage the volume model, especially on platforms like YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. They market products to millions, driving traffic to their stores and websites to boost sales and subscriptions. Some even encourage users to click on links leading to free videos or training, all in an effort to sell strategies or processes they claim will make people overnight millionaires. The more clicks or sales they generate, the more money they earn. It's all about leveraging volume and knowing how to use it to your advantage. Chapter 6. The Power of Versioning. Climbing the Pyramid. Understanding the mindset and journey of success. I now understand the difference between myself at the base of the pyramid and the executives and owners at the top. But how did they get there? And what was I doing while life moved forward? Apart from inheritance, there's no single answer to how members of the isosceles group reached the top. They all followed different paths. But I suspect a shared mindset or common philosophy played a role. Maybe it was sheer determination, or they adhered to the 3 C's: courage, consistency, and confidence, roots and fruits. Countless books offer guidance on success, but one question puzzles me. If everyone in the base group could simply read a book or two and rise to the top, wouldn't they overcrowd and destabilize the pyramid? I doubt the keepers of the pyramid would allow that. For some reason, transitioning to the top isn't as straightforward as it seems, and there's no universal formula for success, but there is for failure. From what I've observed, it takes time for trees to bear fruit, and we only admire the fruit when it's ripe. As such, we all gather around the tree for a harvest when it is in season. Little is known about how the tree's intricate root network developed in darkness or how it overcame soil resistance to grow. Additionally, little is understood about how the tree was planted, its slow growth period, the resources it required, or how it withstood storms to mature and bear fruit, and how the trees that didn't make it became the nutrients that nourished it. For the tree to bear fruit, it had to grow its root network, absorb nutrients from the soil, draw water, and soak up sunlight, creating a new environmental equilibrium. Similarly, successful people didn't achieve success from thin air. They had to sacrifice something in exchange. They all have a story and a past, much of which is filled with hurdles and setbacks they overcame before achieving success and fame. Success was never truly overnight. There was extensive planning, waiting, and failure along the way. Planting in the right season. Success, much like farming, requires sowing seeds at the right time. Visionaries understand this principle and seize opportunities while others hesitate. They were well aware of the society they were in and made investments accordingly, knowing the harvest would come years later. But how did they know what to plant or what to invest in? As it turns out, no one can predict the future because the future is based on free will of a lot of people and other unpredictable factors. However, while they worked and played like the rest of us, they engaged in educated trial and error with their investments, consuming much of their time. Some relied on their instincts to guide their investments of time and money, while others envisioned the future by analyzing current trends and deciding to jump on the bandwagon. The most effective predictive approach I've learned is to create the future for others, because most people don't know what they want until they see and experience it. A great example is artificial intelligence. For example, in 1994, when the internet was rapidly growing, Jeff Bezos decided to join the trend and created Amazon to sell books online, capitalizing on the wide range of books that could be sold at the time. Bezos, a computer scientist, worked for D.E. Shaw on Wall Street developing systems for financial institutions before leaving his employee role to join the ranks of the Trapezium and Isosceles groups. The same story applies to Elon Musk, who left graduate school in physics to work on Tesla and his other companies. While their paths to the top were different, one key observation is that they were always attentive to the developments in society. They were dynamic in their approach to life and careers. Their work life wasn't separate from their living life, it was part of it, living in one version of yourself. And me, what have I done throughout my life? For years, I remained a single, unchanging version of myself, believing that persistence, despite being unyielding, would eventually lead to success. From what I found out, every book that moves you, every experience that resonates, every person you meet, and every discussion or connection you make is meant to push you into the versioning process. Yet I went through it all without changing, or better yet, I resisted change. But life doesn't reward stagnation. It celebrates those who innovate, adapt, and embrace change. I focused on one thing, and truth be told, I didn't even strive tirelessly on being the best in my field. I never pivoted or jumped on any new trends. My belief and sole goal in life were that one day I would succeed where I was, even though the world was changing in countless ways in business, finance, technology, and even science. Yes, I was in the sciences, where different new materials, drugs, vaccines, and products were created each day, but it didn't happen for me. Fast forward many years later, and Elon Musk has gone from founding PayPal to leading Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and TwitterX. Musk's career is a testament to versioning. His ideas and methods aren't always agreeable, but he keeps moving forward. His ventures span diverse industries, yet they share a common thread: the audacity to tackle seemingly impossible challenges. Also, Amazon has gone from a simple online bookstore to a global marketplace for virtually every category of products. And Bezos's Amazon Web Services, AWS, is now the world's leading cloud computing platform. The list of his various versions goes on and on, from Bezos's Blue Origin aerospace manufacturing and space exploration company to other ventures. The lives of those at the isosceles level were different from mine. While they evolved and pivoted as needed to navigate life, I got stuck in just one version of myself. I wonder how many people in the base group have lived only one version of their life, doing the same thing over and over. Mark Twain once said, "The two most important days of your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why." Do those in the base group ever ask themselves if they were destined to remain employees their entire lives, or to be stuck facing the same financial burden and challenges year after year? Thinking back, I remember many times when different opportunities came my way to change, but I resisted, believing I was smarter or better than the world of change. Meanwhile, Elon Musk transitioned from creating a simple basic-based blaster game to a zigzag path that led him to Zip2 and now Twitter X. Today, even in the age of AI, he is still a prominent figure. I wonder where Elon would be today if he had decided to complete his PhD in physics instead of pursuing ventures like Tesla. Nobody knows, but my guess is he wouldn't have become the glamorous figure he is today in an academic lecture room. Nature's lesson in renewal. Science tells me that my body instinctively undergoes transformation, with my organs, cells, and tissues renewing themselves over time to sustain life. White blood cells, skin cells, stomach lining cells, and intestinal cells renew within 1 to 5 days, while red blood cells, liver cells, and pancreatic cells take months to a year. This natural adaptability makes me question why I often resist change in other areas of my life. If my body embraces renewal, why do I struggle to evolve my goals, skills, and mindset? Perhaps the answer also lies in biology. While some cells regenerate easily, muscle, bone, heart, eye, and, most importantly, brain neurons last for years or even a lifetime without renewal. Could this be why change feels so difficult for us? I can't say authoritatively, but it is worth considering further. Regardless, by resisting adaptation, I risk stagnation while the world around me continues to move forward. The big names we hear about have constantly reinvented themselves to stay relevant. Beyoncé, Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Ma, and others. Beyoncé has evolved from a member of Destiny's Child to a global icon who redefines artistry and business. Her surprise album releases and ventures into film and fashion demonstrate a willingness to innovate and stay ahead of the curve. These individuals remind me that true success lies in the ability to version oneself continuously. Becoming the architect of your life. I never realized that I was in business for myself my whole life. Every time my current version of life didn't give me what I wanted, I had to change businesses. Instead, I clung to a failing version of myself, merely managing my circumstances. I'd move to a different apartment when my rent increased by 17%. I would plan for a Black Friday deal to afford a TV I couldn't buy at regular price, or visit a junkyard for car parts because Advance Auto Parts was too expensive. This was my way of pivoting to adapt to change, hoping things would improve or that the government would step in to help. But inflation turned a deaf ear to my tactics of change and success. I have to admit that my routine for adapting to hardship hasn't exactly taken me anywhere. In fact, I've come to believe that life throws us curveballs purposely to nudge us out of our comfort zones. After all, we weren't meant to stay in one place forever. That's why we start as babies and grow into adults, why we move from one grade to the next in school. The questions is why we stop the change as adult. When I reflect on my life, I notice how unexpected events throw me off balance, pushing me for change. For example, one morning I woke up to find that someone had stolen the catalytic converter from my Prius overnight. This was another push from life. You won't believe it, but I struggled to keep my Prius moving by seeking repairs from one mechanic shop to another and visiting numerous junkyards for parts. I was able to get it back on the road until the check engine light came on. Life's demands for change is unstoppable. And then there are the usual mishaps life throws at you: car crashes, break-ins, breakups, illnesses, injuries, and more. It's almost as if life is saying, break out of your routine. Wealthy or not, life still wants you to change. Life without change. Charles Dickens observed that life ceases to change after death. If we cease evolving, aren't we in some sense already dead? For years, I rationalized my inertia, content to manage my current circumstances. My beat-up Prius wasn't broken, so why replace it? My job paid the bills, so why strive for more? These justifications kept me in a cycle of mediocrity while the world moved forward. Though the seasons of life are cyclical, winter, spring, summer, and fall, they still want us to embrace change. As seasons change, I find myself swapping out clothes, changing tires, adjusting my food and drinks, refreshing home decor, and shifting my lifestyle activities. Life truly thrives on change, even infinitesimal change as we age. And maybe we are not meant to repeat the same patterns or be plagued by the same types of problems year after year. I guess change is the reason why we grow old, because even life itself can't stay put. We must continuously reinvent ourselves. Sometimes, life's big events, wildfires, volcanoes, tornadoes, tsunamis, earthquakes, are meant to push us out of our comfort zones. These moments offer us the chance to shed our old selves and forge a new path. The real question is whether we'll recognize life's nudge and take action, or resist it, as I often have. Embracing that change might just lead to the most successful version of you. The universe expands. Why don't we? The ever-expanding universe serves as a metaphor for perpetual growth. Those who succeed on a grand scale, like Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, mirror this principle. When Nadella took the helm, he pivoted Microsoft toward cloud computing and artificial intelligence, reviving its relevance in a competitive tech landscape. His willingness to embrace change reinvigorated a company once perceived as stagnating. Other members of the isosceles group continually expand their reach. Here is a list of some members of the group. Warren Buffett is known for traditional investments in companies like Coca-Cola and insurance businesses. But today, Buffett has also embraced technology with investments in Apple, BYD, and other tech companies. Tim Cook of Apple has introduced services like Apple Music and Apple TV Plus, with a strong focus on sustainability and social responsibility. Reed Hastings, Netflix. Hastings, co-founded Netflix, pivoted the company towards streaming and original content. Netflix continues to innovate, recently expanding into video games and interactive content, demonstrating how leadership and adaptability can transform an industry. Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook/Meta. Mark led Facebook's transition into the metaverse, rebranding it to Meta and focusing on AI, cloud computing, and virtual and augmented reality technologies. Mary Barra, General Motors. Steering GM toward electric and autonomous vehicles, emphasizing innovation and sustainability in the automotive industry. Howard Schultz. In 1981, Schultz visited Milan and was captivated by the coffee culture there. He saw an opportunity to create not just a coffee brand but an experience, a third place between home and work. Howard Schultz didn't invent coffee but turned Starbucks into a cultural phenomenon by expanding it into a unique customer experience. Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, journeyed from selling fax machines door-to-door to building a billion-dollar shapewear empire. She reimagined shapewear, solving a discomfort problem for countless women and building a billion-dollar brand. Corinne Lynch, CEO of CVS Health, expanded the company's role in healthcare delivery, pivoting from a traditional pharmacy model to offering a comprehensive range of health services. Lynch's decisions not only impacted her organization's bottom line but also shaped access to healthcare for millions. Ellen DeGeneres demonstrates a personal reinvention and expansion. Originally a stand-up comedian, Ellen transitioned to hosting her own talk show, The Ellen DeGeneres Show. Over the years, she recognized her wit, compassion, and ability to connect with people from all walks of life. Colonel Harlan Sanders, the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, Colonel Sanders didn't find success until he was 65. Before that, he ran a small service station and restaurant. However, after his business was destroyed in a fire, disaster forced him to expand. He began traveling across the country, selling his secret fried chicken recipe to restaurants, ultimately turning it into a nationwide success. Brian Chesky, co-founder and CEO of Airbnb, reinvented the hospitality industry. What started as a simple idea of renting air mattresses to conference-goers evolved into a thriving online marketplace for lodging. Like the universe, members of the isosceles group constantly seek expansion. Their focus lies in creating and establishing new ventures. They develop a good idea, ensure its success by appointing a capable CEO, and then shift their attention to the next emerging trend or venture, evaluating whether it's worth their time and resources. Not every idea succeeds, but you must at least test them before discarding them. In contrast, while the world thrives on constant change and innovation, I find myself and the members of the base group longing for stability, a steady job, a reliable salary, and the comfort of staying in one place for the rest of my life. But what's driving this change that I'm not a part of? My research initially pointed to innovation, greed, then competition, and finally to the base group. How could I drive change when I haven't updated or versioned myself in years? Sure, I want new shirts, pants, cars, phones, sheets, even toothpaste. Consumers, like children with toys, quickly grow bored of repetitive products. The truth is, I don't want to keep buying the same things repeatedly. Every time I or others in the base group pick up something new that resonates, a trend is sparked. a market emerges and the old item fades, impacting competitors. Stores and manufacturers continuously introduce new products, searching for what will resonate with customers, stay relevant, and outpace the competition. For companies to stay in business, they must pivot and create new products or refresh old ones. They hire the best minds and incorporate modern technologies to produce items efficiently and quickly. Even their customer service department is well trained to keep the customers coming and calling. And because there are many players in every market, competition intensifies as everyone vies for the largest market share. Some companies advertise constantly, staying in the news, while others use social media and other channels to keep their brands top in our minds. Harvesting the fruits of versioning. Studying how the isosceles group stays relevant while the world evolves has forced me to rethink my perspective. Mark Twain's words remind me that my purpose is deeply connected to my growth and mindset. To realize my potential, I must embrace the power of versioning, not just to adapt to change, but to drive it. Life, like the universe, demands expansion. It's time for me to stop holding on to outdated versions of myself and start creating the next iteration. Only then can I truly reap the rewards of my efforts and live with purpose and fulfillment. The question isn't if I should evolve, it's why I haven't already. Chapter 7. The Fear of Failure. Murphy's Law: anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Fear of failure. Okay, there's no way I can be like these people. It gets murkier each time I research how individuals version themselves and how companies diversify to stay relevant. It is expensive and requires lots of hours. I just can't keep up with this trend. Versioning takes time, money, and effort, three things I don't have in abundance. I know it's easier for Elon Musk to version himself because he has the resources to absorb the shock if his new direction doesn't work. The fear of failure might be the main reason holding me back from versioning myself and shedding my old skin for a new me. Fear, a universal barrier. Almost all of us have a story about fear and failure. It's a natural part of being human. No one likes to fail. Many people, myself included, struggle to step out of their comfort zones. Some may never find the confidence to do so. If I'm not completely broken, why should I fix myself? One of the major obstacles that hold people in the base group back from trying something new, whether it's making a significant investment or switching careers, is the fear of failure. The fear that their new self might still fall short can be paralyzing. Some would say, I can't learn the skills needed to change my career, and I fear starting from the bottom. Studying members of the isosceles group has taught me that failure isn't the end or doom and gloom. It's a stepping stone. It highlights areas that need improvement or adjustment. To the isosceles group, failure serves as a platform for growth, offering new insights and better approaches. It fuels their determination to keep experimenting until they find what works. As Thomas Edison said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Versioning and diversifying don't guarantee success. It comes with periods of struggle and many failures before steady success is realized. Murphy's Law keeps us grounded, making it even harder to take risks. Even in science, reactions don't always work. Molecules and atoms constantly collide, but to react, they must overcome an energy barrier known as activation energy, E. Sometimes this barrier is low, other times it is high. Many reactions fail unless they stretch their bonds, reorient their atoms, and find a way to surpass the EA barrier. What's also true is that each reaction follows a unique path because every molecule behaves differently. Similarly, success follows different paths. But if the reactants persist, stretching their bonds, reorienting their atoms, and overcoming the energy barrier, they achieve transformation. In chemical terms, this means moving from a less stable state to a more stable one, just as personal growth leads to greater stability and success. Even molecules know that success is not common, it comes with work. Notwithstanding, there are also biological reactions and processes that can go wrong. For instance, the immune system protects against harmful invaders like bacteria and viruses by producing antibodies. but the body can mistakenly identify harmless substances such as food and pollen as threat, leading to overproduction of histamine. And this causes swelling, itching, and overall allergic reactions. The same is true for abnormal cell division, leading to cell mutations such as cancers, and oxidative stress from the imbalance of reactive oxygen species and antioxidants such as glutathione. Additionally, many biochemical processes and pathways have multiple functional routes, ensuring built-in redundancy to manage failure. If one pathway fails, another can compensate to maintain and carry out essential functions. The truth is, things do go wrong and systems do fail. It is part of life, and no one or systems can change it. But these biochemical processes keep on working with all they have left. I often wonder why I give up so easily after a small setback, without pushing on, or why I rely on a single pathway for all my essentials, with no system in place to manage failure. Lessons from companies that feared change. But why do members of the isosceles group still take risks, knowing failure is possible? My guess is that they understand biological and chemical systems better than the rest of us, or they simply recognize that refusing to adapt to the market is already a form of failure. This group realizes that success means change, and if they want to keep their businesses afloat, they must keep evolving. So the fear of not changing is greater than the fear of staying small. Many companies have failed because they resisted change. Here are some of them. Blockbuster. Once a giant in the video rental industry, Blockbuster failed to adapt to the shift towards digital streaming and mail order. The company didn't invest in online distribution and passed on an opportunity to acquire Netflix. Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy in 2010. Kodak. Eastman Kodak, a pioneer in the photography industry, struggled to embrace the digital revolution. Despite inventing the digital camera in the 1970s, Kodak was slow to transition from film-based products. The company filed for bankruptcy in 2012. Nokia. Nokia dominated the mobile phone market for years but failed to keep up with the smartphone revolution. The company's focus on traditional mobile phones and its reluctance to adopt touchscreen technology led to a decline in market share. Microsoft eventually acquired Nokia's mobile phone business in 2014. Toys R Us. Once an iconic toy retailer, it struggled to compete with the rise of online shopping. A heavy debt load and competition from e-commerce giants led to its bankruptcy in 2017. BlackBerry. Once a leader in the smartphone market, BlackBerry failed to keep pace with competitors like Apple and Android. The company's focus on physical keyboards and enterprise users limited its appeal to a broader consumer market. BlackBerry's market share dwindled, and it eventually shifted focus to software and services. Radio Shack. Once a go-to store for gadgets and components, it couldn't keep up with online retailers and big-box stores. Rebranding efforts fell short, leading to multiple bankruptcies and store closures. Xerox. A pioneer in photocopiers and printers, Xerox faced challenges as demand for paper copies declined in the digital age. The company struggled to innovate and diversify its product offerings, affecting its market position. Pan American World Airways (Pan Am). Once an iconic airline, Pan Am failed to adapt to the changing dynamics of the airline industry, including the rise of low-cost carriers and changing travel patterns. Financial troubles and increased competition led to bankruptcy in 1991. Borders Group. A major bookstore chain, Borders struggled to compete with the rise of ebooks and online book retailers like Amazon. The company's late entry into the ebook market and financial mismanagement led to bankruptcy in 2011. If I were a company, my name could be next. I don't want to expose myself too much or be vulnerable, but it's all coming back to me. There were times when change knocked on my door and my actions firmly said, "No, go away." But how would I have known if that change was a good one? We don't all have crystal balls to predict the future. Even big companies like Xerox, BlackBerry, and others couldn't always separate the wheat from the chaff. Life doesn't like excuses and punishes dearly. These companies would rather version themselves than remain small and out of business like members of the base group. Fear is universal even among giants. What puzzles me is that while the base group resists change, companies thrive by incorporating it into their strategy to keep consumers engaged. For example, Costco keeps moving items around the store and introduces new products or sells different items at different times. I noticed this with paper towels at Costco, where they had two brands in rotation for some reason. Walmart constantly changes the floors, shelves, and store arrangements. They keep their ears close to the ground and stay alert to the evolving wants and needs of their customers. There's a popular saying that knowledge helps overcome fear by providing a sense of control over the factors that cause it, and I think these stores understand that. The biggest fear for major stores is how to attract and retain customers while ensuring their continued relevance. In simple terms, they fear no business. They are constantly seeking to understand what customers want, how to deliver it, and strategically plan to make it accessible. Companies like Amazon and Walmart collect vast amounts of data on what's selling and what customers are buying. Imagine if these companies shared that data with you. How would you use it? Of course, they won't. Instead, they leverage it to create private label brands like Great Value, Amazon Basics, and Kirkland, filling their shelves with products they know will sell. Or if the Big G, the godfather of information, revealed what users are searching for based on their queries, browsing history, and people's whereabouts, how would you use that data? We know some companies sell this information to third parties, but the major companies use it to mitigate their fear of losing customers and staying relevant. Imagine if no one visited Walmart or purchased an Apple product for an entire month. You can see why these companies keep a tight grip on their data, continuously innovate, and introduce new products to inspire customer loyalty and even to compete with other products on their shelves. The last part of this puzzled me. Why would you sell the same as a vendor or supplier who rents your shelf space? I decided not to investigate further or ask why. But over the years, the number of store brands and platform brands products like the Kirkland, Up and Up, Private Selection, Amazon Basics, and Great Values have increased significantly. As per whether Walmart is worried if I would show up to the store tomorrow, I don't think so. Walmart likely isn't concerned. They know I'll be there tomorrow, and all my tradition-minded friends will be there too. They have the data and the assurance in what they've built and the essential offerings they provide, all waiting for me. They offer groceries, pharmacies, banks, money services, auto, hardware, and so much more, leaving me with little choice but to visit. And if it's not Walmart, I'll surely visit another big box store or a smaller local store that sources products from them or other large retailers. The known and unknown fear. However, Walmart still fears losing business to competitors, stagnation, management issues, and unforeseen circumstances in the future. Every business owner experiences fear. It's only natural to fear for the future and feel uncertain about what tomorrow holds. The greatest unknown fear comes from disruptors, outsiders watching for opportunities to break into the industry. These disruptors are always on alert, monitoring established companies' every move, their greed, missteps, and one-star customer reviews. The moment a company slips or stagnates, they're ready to swoop in. These unknowns are many and sometimes include other big companies wanting to expand into new businesses. They watch closely, hungry and ready to upend these giants. The only thing holding them back are resources and timing. The big players are aware of this, and the fear of these disruptors keeps them on alert. Did you know that even employees, especially managers in regions or departments, can bring a store location to its knees? Stores are aware of this and fear the possibility of employees turning against them. That's one reason they hire assistants for key positions and work to standardize and document processes as much as possible, ensuring they have ready replacements when needed. Don't be fooled by towering buildings, impressive office spaces, and fancy suits. Fear is real for everyone involved. Giants can be taken down by competitors or a disruptor. Fear is ever present. Yet, these stores also plan for failure and have strategies in place to adapt to market changes and customer buying patterns if challenges arise. Even Ferrari, the renowned automaker, worries about a potential decline in sales. However, they believe that the deliberate scarcity they've created will serve as the key to their ongoing success. They anticipate that after all your hard work, you'll feel compelled to demonstrate your value and wealth in society by owning a piece of their market. SpaceX, a case study in resilience. As I read about fears and failures, I found SpaceX's story to be particularly compelling. They faced multiple failures in their attempts to launch the Falcon rocket. However, they carefully studied each failure, identified the causes, and eventually achieved partial success, leading to subsequent successful launches. They encountered issues like engine failure, premature shutdown, thrust-related explosions, payload problems, overpressurization, and launch pad explosions. While failures come with significant financial costs, and even Elon Musk faced financial challenges, requiring assistance from banks and the government, today, SpaceX is valued at over $100 billion, according to the Wall Street Journal. Although it may not be feasible for everyone to bear the cost of all losses when starting or running a business, you can plan for them and aim to minimize failures. Failure is an essential part of the path to success. Companies must work through problems and refine their strategies through multiple iterations, which can be seen as a sophisticated term for failure. Some might be lucky, but most must endure this challenging process of fixing issues. Failure is the ultimate refinement process, saving for failure a new perspective. What I've learned from all of this is that failure is part of versioning, and those who succeed plan for it. So, what if I budgeted for failure, set aside money specifically to absorb setbacks? Yes, that's right. I want a dedicated account that gives me the freedom to fail as I experiment and learn. Many would argue it's better to use other people's money, but at the base, that's not always an option, especially in the experimental phase. Plus, most billionaires start with some family wealth, while the base rarely receives genuine support from family and friends. I believe this approach of actual planning will help pivot and version myself when the opportunity arises, rather than say, "That's not for me because I can't afford the risk." I can start today by creating a separate account dedicated to experimenting with new ventures and being prepared to persevere, even if some endeavors fail. I will adapt and iterate until success comes my way. Maybe it's time to resist the temptation to remain in my comfort zone and stop hiding behind a screen. My support for the 9-to-5 lifestyle can wane if I version myself and break free from the triangular cycle of work, store visits, and my apartment. This lifestyle feels borrowed, like something passed down to me from the society or the base group. I don't know when or how I stepped into it, but I'm here now, resisting comfort and embracing change. The temptation to remain in our comfort zones is strong. My own routine, work, store visits, and home, is predictable and safe, but it's also limiting. This inherited way of living doesn't align with my aspirations. To grow, I need to resist the urge to hide behind a screen and take proactive steps toward versioning myself. Victoria's story comes to mind. She's a woman I met at church who spent years feeling burnt out and unfulfilled in her nursing career. She dreamed of pursuing her passion for photography, but was paralyzed by the fear of leaving a stable job. Determined to make a change, Victoria bought a laundromat and hired a manager to run it in exchange for a share of the profits. This gave her the freedom to take evening photography classes while continuing her nursing job. Over time, she built a portfolio and began taking on clients. Today, she's a full-time photographer, living her dream. Victoria's journey wasn't without its challenges. There were Sundays when she came to church visibly exhausted and frazzled, but her perseverance paid off. Her story is a testament to the power of embracing change, cautiously stepping into the unknown, and having the courage to chase what truly fulfills you. Oddly, Victoria's friend Rosan also made a bold career move but into nursing. Tired of feeling stuck as a secretary, Rosan saw better prospects in becoming a registered nurse. She enrolled in an accelerated nursing program and within 18 months earned her RN credentials. After that, I didn't see much of her at church, but one day I ran into her at a party. I was eager to ask why she made the change and took the risk. Her answer was simple. Pressure. The pressure from family and life on a fixed salary was overwhelming, and work was demanding more for the same pay. She had two choices, buckle or stretch. She chose to stretch herself and explore other options to change her situation. She admitted it wasn't easy, but she had to do it, and she did. It was worth it, according to her. Rosin and Victoria remind me that it's never too late to rewrite your path and find happiness in a new chapter. Reinventing yourself is challenging, but it's entirely possible. The price of fear. Fear can be paralyzing, but for me, its biggest challenge is inaction, specifically, not starting on an idea. We all have ideas, yet we often hesitate to act on them, held back by the fear of failure or, in my case, the fear of not having everything perfectly in place before launching. Members of the isosceles group face the same fear, but the difference is that they take action. To them, an idea is like a seed. Its full potential is unknown except for the initial thought that sparked it. Only by planting the seed do they begin to discover what it contains. In other words, starting on an idea is the key. Their true power lies in taking the first step and learning as they go. They don't have everything figured out from the beginning, but with time, their idea takes shape. It's only after it fully develops and they begin to test its results that they truly understand what they've created. Yet even then, the journey doesn't stop. Their ideas can branch out, evolve, or lead to something entirely new. The true price of failure is not knowing what your ideas can become. If you sat Reed Hastings, Larry Page, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Jack Ma, and Jeff Bezos in a room and asked them what they initially thought of their ideas compared to what they have become today, you would be shocked at their answers. My guess is that one of them would say, "It has diverged," or "It has grown beyond what I originally imagined." In summary, the idea is nature's way of nudging you out to explore, and the possibilities of that idea are endless if you know how to execute. You must start first. Starting is the power, and fear is the small hand holding you back from the threshold to it. Chapter 8. The Kaizen Model. The Kaizen Model. Beyond financial struggle, I began to question if other areas of my life were suffering due to my failure to evolve and embrace change. The answer seemed clear. Everything suffers when we ignore the handwriting on the wall. Many people remain in unfulfilling relationships, stagnant careers, or uninspiring environments, enduring and hoping for improvement without taking deliberate action. With over 8 billion people and millions of opportunities in the world, why wasn't I evolving enough to get the needle of success to move towards greener pastures? The truth was, fear was not the only inertia. I didn't know how and where to start. My search for a practical, beginner-friendly method of self-improvement led me to the Japanese Kaizen model, a culture of continuous improvement through small, deliberate changes over time. This philosophy, initially designed to enhance quality in products and processes, also provided a framework for improving the quality of life itself. Understanding Kaizen. In the Kaizen culture, the focus is on making small, incremental improvements to standardized processes. Over time, these incremental changes lead to significant functional enhancements and extraordinary results. The word Kaizen itself offers insight into its core, as it translates to good or better, Kai and Chain, Zen, symbolizing the pursuit of continuous improvement. Every day, individuals within the organization contribute small improvements to the process, fostering a culture of consistent, positive change. What stands out to me here is the purposeful approach. People actively look for areas to improve and make those changes. For me, I wasn't actively seeking self-improvement, and if I had been, my risk-averse nature would have made change a priority long ago. Kaizen in action. In large companies, small changes are often driven by both employees and suppliers. Weekly or daily meetings are held to discuss expected results and metrics, and to make sure everyone is on track. Managers are assigned across departments, allowing the implementation of incremental suggestions and changes that enhance overall productivity. According to the authors of the idea-driven organization, 80% of potential improvement comes from frontline employees. This highlights the power of bottom-up ideas. Consider Visa as an example. Joseph P. Williams, a former head of the Customer Service Research Group, played a key role in developing and successfully implementing the concept with Bank of America in 1956. His efforts led to the creation of the all-purpose credit card, which later became the Visa card after several failed attempts and subsequent Kaizen refinements. The approach of empowering employees to lead special projects and drive Kaizen extends across departments, including production, logistics, sales, management, R&D, marketing, and retail. Companies worldwide use this philosophy to boost productivity and find innovative solutions to problems. By involving everyone in the organization, Kaizen creates think tanks within each department, ensuring a continuous cycle of change and fostering a stream of innovative ideas from employees. Employers understand that as long as society exists, new ideas will keep emerging. They recognize that it's easier to repel an invading army than to stop ideas from entering your mind, especially when faced with a problem and with a salary raise or promotion as a possible reward. Consequently, they leverage this understanding during meetings and company brainstorming sessions to drive innovation. I also realize that, in general, humans just can't stop tinkering with ideas and possibilities, whether at work or beyond. In the years to come, new innovations will continue to flood the market and shape our lives, especially in technology, science, and engineering. And this would happen autonomously with or without our input. The ingenuity of the human mind never stops creating. I hope those in the base group keep exploring their situations and options until things change for the better, rather than solely focusing on refining themselves in their jobs. With over 86 billion neurons in the human brain, you're not meant to use them all solving problems at a job. There's more than enough brain power left for ideas and strategies to move beyond the base. Japan serves as a prime example of a nation that has achieved global recognition through its commitment to quality and its ability to produce exceptional products, despite having a relatively small population. With creativity and dedication to excellence, Japan has risen as one of the world's leading nations. Many Japanese companies embrace the principles, systems, and tools of Kaizen to enhance their products and services. Toyota, for example, began implementing the Kaizen approach in the 1950s, establishing quality control circles that remain in use today. The philosophy of continuous improvement is deeply embedded in Japanese companies at every level, driving them toward excellence and generating significant wealth. Applying Kaizen to personal growth. The encouraging part is that even as an individual, I can embrace the principles of Kaizen to improve my life and adapt as needed. I like to think of myself as a company, and like any successful company, I should regularly hold meetings with myself. This might sound unusual, but progress requires a clear plan, and this involves a continuous or routine check-ins on progress. In these meetings, I plan to model a real company, not just listening to myself, but actively reflecting on my goals, current position, and execution strategies. Just as companies thrive by hiring the right people and refining their strategies through regular meetings, I can apply the same approach to personal growth. Instead of waiting for therapy sessions to be asked, "How are you doing? What's happening this week? How can you adapt?" I can take charge by incorporating Kaizen into my daily life, making small, intentional, and positive changes that build momentum over time. Interestingly, I've seen this principle at work in relationships, too. I know some couples who hold bi-weekly or monthly meetings to formally discuss their marriage, family plans, or simply check in with one another. One family shared with me that they view their marriage as a partnership, and these meetings allow them to evaluate how their partnership is growing and discover ways to strengthen their bond. This mindset of intentional reflection and consistent effort can be transformative, whether for an individual or a relationship. Rather than being stuck in repetitive patterns or the rat race, I can use the Kaizen methodology to build a healthier and more meaningful lifestyle. Instead of attempting drastic and costly changes all at once, I can start by systematically saving money and implementing the Kaizen approach gradually and sustainably. As I explore the Kaizen approach, it's clear that to make it work effectively for me, I should begin by implementing small changes in my current situation and work environment, while actively seeking opportunities to learn new things across different areas. Exposure to new ideas creates connections that inspire me to make meaningful adjustments in my life, overcoming challenges. However, one challenge I face with the Kaizen approach is the need to first establish a standard and then develop a clear action plan outlining how I intend to progress from there. It's important to remember that not all changes are necessary, only those that stand between you and your future self, potentially leading to regrets if left unaddressed. I've realized that versioning isn't just about deciding to change or being pushed into action. It's about building the structures, assumptions, and vision necessary for meaningful growth. For Kaizen to truly work and deliver optimal results, I must focus on personal discipline, improving morale, embracing a new quality of life, and cultivating a mindset that welcomes suggestions for improvement. Traditional features of Kaizen, incremental changes over time. Kaizen emphasizes the power of gradual, small-scale changes rather than dramatic overhauls. By taking measured, consistent steps, these changes may not produce immediate results or transformations, but they allow for steady personal growth and better management of your evolving state. Employee participation in idea generation. Although you may not have a team to brainstorm with, the philosophy of Kaizen encourages generating ideas independently. Over time, your mind becomes conditioned to think creatively and innovatively. You can enhance this process by leveraging resources like books, media, and AI tools, which make working independently on idea generation and refinement easier. For me, ideas come from forming new neurological connections, which happen through exposure to diverse environments and experiences, new knowledge, people, places, or activities. The more I engage with the unknown, the more connections I can create. Feeding my mind and senses with fresh information makes ideas flow naturally. A routine life stifles creativity, so breaking routines can reignite excitement and ingenuity. I've also realized that the company I work for has been applying Kaizen principles, consciously or unconsciously, during meetings, whether weekly, monthly, or annually. These meetings serve as idea incubators, where participants collaborate, refine ideas, and align with the organization's goals. Surprisingly, these sessions often generate ideas because people aim to impress their peers and superiors, boosting overall productivity. While employees are paid to contribute, I now see these meetings as valuable training grounds for my own ventures. The CEO, with limited capacity as one person, relies on the collective input of employees and managers to tackle challenges from multiple perspectives. In essence, meetings multiply the CEO's capacity by tapping into the collective intelligence of the team. Put simply, a CEO has one head, two eyes, and two hands, which limits how many problems they can solve on their own or how much they can get done. However, when a meeting brings a room full of employees together, firing on all fronts and removing potential blind spots, their collective heads, hands, and eyes can analyze a problem from multiple angles and brainstorm possible solutions. These meetings effectively multiply the CEO's capacity to think, see, and act, providing far greater possibilities and opportunities for success than one person working alone. Sometimes the CEO or manager only comes in to edit the ideas or creativity of the group. Note that it is easy to critique or edit than to create from scratch. That said, it's also important to remember that the employees are compensated for their contributions. This collaborative effort is a partnership between the CEO, the company, and its team. Importantly, the decision of the CEO makes a high impact on the success of the company, and so a smart team is needed to assist in decision-making. Continuous improvement. from current state to desired future state. The Kaizen approach emphasizes regular assessment of a current state and how it compares with an envisioned future. By taking deliberate incremental steps, one can bridge the gap between the two states. This process of state review and gradual progress mirrors how large companies operate. They frequently evaluate their goals and adjust their strategies. Phrases like meeting quarterly targets reflect this commitment to consistent progress. Some books recommend writing down goals and visualizing your future role to help bring them to life. Keeping your goals visible serves as a constant reminder of where you want to be in the months ahead. Low capital investment for each chain. Kaizen emphasizes small, manageable changes, making it ideal for limited budgets. You don't need substantial savings to start improving. Simple actions, like going to bed earlier to boost productivity or dedicating quiet time to thinking, can have a significant impact. These small, consistent adjustments are not only cost-effective, but highly required in creating positive change. Taking ownership of work, future, and progress. A crucial aspect of Kaizen is taking ownership of your journey. In organizations, managers are entrusted with responsibilities to enhance productivity and achieve goals. Similarly, I must prioritize myself as the driver of my success. Within the framework of Kaizen, I see myself as both the employee, the manager, and the employer. Discipline, responsibility, and accountability are essential. Cultivating a Kaizen mindset. To stay on track, I can plan, strategize, hold regular self-assessments, and set milestones with clear timelines. Just as a company thrives on the efficiency of its employees, my progress depends on my ability to uphold strong work ethics, minimize waste, and continuously improve. This involves creating a culture of discipline, problem-solving, and innovation within myself. I can start practicing Kaizen today by setting aside 20-30 minutes each day to reflect on my future. This dedicated time will spark new ideas and help me pinpoint areas for growth and improvement. After all, without change, there's no progress, and without a plan, there's no reward. If my current methods haven't delivered the results I desire, it's a clear sign that I need to seek fresh perspectives, fill knowledge gaps, and find the right tools or catalysts to propel me forward. In Kaizen, daily or regular reflection fuels growth. Fresh ideas spark change, and new strategies drive progress. Investing 30 minutes today could be the key to unlocking a better future self. Chapter 9. The SAND Model. The SAND Model. Versioning and the Base Group. Zero versioning is one reason I remained stuck in the base group. As mentioned earlier, there's no universal solution or cocktail that instantly elevates everyone to the isosceles group. However, if the members of the isosceles group have succeeded, in part due to versioning, I believe we can learn from their strategies. They got it right, so why not follow their lead? The anonymous base group. One realization about the base group struck me while observing crowds in New York City during morning commutes. The same can be seen at trade stations in China, Bangladesh, or India, hordes of people flowing in and out of trains. It was nearly impossible to distinguish individuals in this sand sea of humanity. They resembled grains of sand on a beach, visible as a collective but invisible as individuals. That's when it hit me. I was part of this vast base group, invisible to the world. Outside of my coworkers, family, friends, and perhaps neighbors, nobody knew me. I was virtually a nobody in society. How could anyone seek my services or purchase from me if I was invisible to them? I wasn't recognizable as a person, product, or service. Like the countless others navigating the world unseen and unrecognized, my efforts and existence felt small. Comparing myself to members of the isosceles group made it even clearer. People like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Page, and others are well known and respected globally. Even the bosses at my company, though they held authority in our workplace, were far from famous. They might be known within the company, but beyond that, their influence was negligible. While some executives achieve recognition, they are still nowhere near the visibility of the isosceles group. Most of us in the base group sustain the economy, nurture communities, and raise families. But these efforts rarely translate into the kind of recognition enjoyed by members of the isosceles group, those who have managed to become visible and distinguished for their contribution. Even at work, the right people need to know your name. Visibility matters more for a promotion than simply working hard. The isosceles group, visible, celebrated, and impactful. Why was this the case? As I reflected, it became evident. I had not created anything or solved any significant problems for the world to acknowledge me. I had lived for decades without even copying a working solution and added a twist to improve it, let alone contribute to a single full-fledged solution. I hadn't created anything, a website, a blog, a product, or even a small company. I had no platform to share my story or showcase my expertise. I was quite simply anonymous. Well, now you know why I wasn't attracting success from other groups or even the universe. I was simply waiting for magic. My phone wasn't ringing off the hook, nor was my inbox overflowing with emails from customers or investors. They had no reason to reach out because I never created or gave them one. I had confined myself to the familiar: work, family, and friends. In stark contrast, the isosceles group have made themselves attractive. They consist of individuals whose contributions have elevated them to prominence. Consider Richard Branson, who started Virgin as a small record store and expanded it into a global empire spanning music, airlines, space travel, and telecommunications. Or Jeff Bezos, who transformed e-commerce with Amazon from his garage after leaving a promising career in finance. Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, spent years in relative obscurity as a schoolteacher before his vision reshaped global trade. Now I understood why I felt like sand, blown aimlessly by the wind, directionless and invisible. Beyond my immediate circle, no one knew who I was, not online, not in the neighboring state, and certainly not known nationally. No one cared either, except for the occasional hacker trying to exploit my identity for their gain. I had no Wikipedia page, no YouTube channel, no digital footprint to speak of, and I never made the news. By all accounts, I was invisible. This realization terrified me. My thoughts veered into an uncomfortable conclusion. Members of the base group might live their entire lives unnoticed, contributing anonymously to society until they die. They become unsung contributors to their jobs, fading slowly into obscurity as companies retain records of profits, but quickly forget the individuals who helped build them. I wonder if this was the inevitable fate of the base group: to work tirelessly their whole life, remain invisible, and then descend into an even deeper obscurity after retirement in an assisted living facility or nursing home. The thought was unsettling. It made me realize how vital it is to break free from the base group by creating, contributing, and solving problems that matter, not just for recognition, but to leave a meaningful imprint on the world. Fear, and even the pursuit of financial freedom, loses its power as a motivator when you consider this line of thought. In contrast, the isosceles group is filled with individuals who are celebrated, well-known, and universally appreciated. Many of them have been in the limelight for years and will continue to be remembered long after they're gone. Also, even if they do not remain in their homes in old age, their assisted living and nursing home care facilities will be of superior quality to those available to the base group. I researched some of these prominent names to understand the journeys that brought them such recognition. Elon Musk was already making waves at the age of 12 when he created and sold his game Blaster for $500. This early success was just the beginning, leading to ventures like Zip2, Tesla, and beyond. Jeff Bezos gained widespread recognition after founding Amazon. Before that, as an employee, he was virtually unknown. Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the co-founders of Google, rose to prominence in the late 1990s with their groundbreaking search engine, which eventually became the dominant player in online search. Howard Schultz became a household name in the 1980s and 1990s as the CEO of Starbucks, transforming it into a global coffeehouse chain and cultural icon. Michael Dell made his mark in the 1980s and 1990s as the founder of Dell Inc., revolutionizing the personal computer industry with direct-to-consumer sales. Reed Hastings gained recognition in the late 1990s as the co-founder and CEO of Netflix. What began as a DVD rental-by-mail service evolved into one of the world's leading streaming platforms. Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba Group, achieved international fame in the late 1990s and early 2000s as Alibaba became a global e-commerce giant. Interestingly, Jack Ma started as a tour guide in China and later worked as a schoolteacher for years, roles in which he remained relatively unknown before his entrepreneurial success. These examples highlight that many members of the isosceles group rose to prominence not because of who they were as a person or where they started, but because of what they created and contributed to the world. Their impact and achievements set them apart, ensuring their visibility and legacy. Being an employee is undeniably valuable to society and employers. As employees, we contribute in diverse ways, playing essential roles across professions, industries, and sectors. Collectively, we drive the economy, provide goods and services, and support local communities and the nation. However, true recognition and popularity often begin when you are known for creating something unique within that same society. Opportunities beyond fame. Interestingly, you don't have to invent a groundbreaking product or solve a complex mathematical problem set by the best AI model to achieve this. What matters is harnessing available resources and logistics to create a product, service, or idea that others can use and appreciate, or copy what is out there and improve upon it. This can start right where you are, with just an idea, and your task is to execute that idea with clarity of purpose and to make the world better than you found it. To make a meaningful impact, you must contribute to the larger society in a way that extends beyond you and the duties of your job or services to an employer. In the end, you need to be known for something valuable and good, something that leaves a positive mark. Many members of the base group have been selfish with their skills and talents, sharing them only with an employer instead of creating something for the world. But in doing so, they've limited their impact, trading potential greatness for mere stability while restricting themselves to a single stream of income. In truth, I may never achieve the fame of Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos for what they are known for. Those opportunities and defining moments are already behind me. However, I can still create something unique and share it with the world. In fact, everyone has that potential. The real question is, how valuable or applicable will it be? The answer to that remains unknown until you give it a try. You never know what might happen. In today's connected world, opportunities abound to plug into existing systems and address gaps left by larger players, especially in the tech and business sectors. Mega companies create opportunities for other businesses to emerge and integrate with them. Curious about this dynamic, I researched several such companies and focused on the ones that particularly resonated with me. Examples of companies filling gaps. HashiCorp. This company developed tools like Terraform, used by corporations to manage IT infrastructure as code. GitHub. Founded in 2008, it revolutionized software development collaboration. Microsoft acquired it for $7.5 billion in 2018. Kiva Systems. By automating warehouse logistics, Kiva Systems streamlined operations for major retailers. It was later acquired by Amazon for $775 million. These companies didn't reinvent the wheel. They identified inefficiencies and built solutions to address them. Their success highlights the potential of finding and filling gaps, even within well-established industries. On a personal level, I began exploring gaps in my own field of interest, opportunities to serve underserved markets or improve existing processes. It became clear that plugging into larger systems could amplify my efforts far beyond what I could achieve alone starting from the ground up. Lessons from Kiva Systems. Kiva Systems' journey is particularly inspiring. Founded by Mick Mounts, the company designed robots to improve warehouse logistics. These robots autonomously carried heavy loads, drastically improving efficiency for retailers like Gap and Nordstrom. The innovation didn't just save time and money, it redefined how warehouses operated. Amazon's acquisition of Kiva Systems underscores the value of addressing critical pain points in large-scale industries. The key takeaway here isn't necessarily to jump into the technology sector, but to understand that opportunities still exist. Even the largest companies leave gaps that others can fill. Success lies in thoroughly studying these companies, identifying their challenges, and designing solutions to address those gaps. While this realization can feel overwhelming, especially for those of us in the base group, it's important to remember that even the top 1% of companies and individuals started from the bottom. Most of what we see today didn't exist 2 to 3 decades ago, and a few years from now, many of them will be replaced by new innovations created by people just like you. Every idea, product, or service, whether mundane or sophisticated, is upgradable and replaceable. The human capacity for growth and innovation is limitless, and with the right tools and focus, it is entirely possible to catch up and make meaningful contributions. Mark Twain said it best, "The secret of getting ahead is getting started." Even the greatest started at the bottom. Growth and innovation have no limits, only the courage to begin. Chapter 10. The Book Recipe. Gilbert's Law. The biggest problem with a job is that no one tells you what to do. Pyramid transition. My research suggests that the pyramid functions like a living organism, with dynamic activity occurring at all levels despite its conservative nature and tendency to maintain equilibrium. Movement and growth within and between segments are possible, as the boundaries within the pyramid are not rigidly guarded. However, the challenge lies in understanding the conditions for upward mobility, which are not always clear, and no one holds exclusive control over these transitions. Still, you must go through the process and meet the necessary requirements to transition. The general trend is upward. Most people progress from low income to middle income, rather than directly becoming millionaires or billionaires. There is significant movement within the base group, but transitioning from the base to the isosceles group is occasional unless you're fortunate. These transitions are primarily driven by access to information, technological advancement, education, entrepreneurship, economic growth, or inheritance. Furthermore, apart from inheritance, these transitions are not purely dictated by anyone. You can decide to transition tomorrow if you choose to shift your mindset and work at it. The pyramid will allow it if you know how. Some people have ideas that can transition them but haven't looked at it in years. You can be in your garage working on a project that will take the world by storm tomorrow, but until then nobody knows. Your idea can be tucked away for months, even years, until you finally decide to share it with the rest of the world. Despite all of this inertia within the base group, wealth creation continues in the upper part of the base group. In 2000, the U.S. had approximately 7 million millionaires, a number that has surged to 24.5 million in 2024, an increase of over 250% in 24 years, averaging around 1% growth per year. In contrast, the growth of billionaires in the isosceles group has been slower. Their numbers increased from 300 in 2000 to 813 in 2024, reflecting 171% growth over the same period. Note that roughly half of the new billionaire wealth was self-generated. However, not everyone moves upward. Some individuals slip downward within the base group and from the upper groups. In 2000, about 31.6 million people in the U.S. lived in poverty. By 2023, that number has risen to 36.8 million. The key drivers of poverty remain the same: stagnant wages relative to the cost of living, rising housing and healthcare costs, and limited access to education and necessary information. Also, the rise in inflation disproportionately impacts low-income households, making essentials like food, housing, and energy increasingly unaffordable. While there are no strict gatekeepers between segments, that doesn't mean transitions are easy. Hurdles, competition, and monopolies exist at every level, making it hard to join a subset in the group. For many in the base group, upward mobility is difficult because they are too busy with the 9-to-5 work. Also, the struggle of daily living makes it difficult to navigate the complexities of a transition. The most productive hours of the day are typically from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and this time is spent preparing for work, working, and commuting home exhausted. As a result, many in the base group believe transitioning is impossible. Similarly, competition is fiercer than ever, and big companies employ various strategies, monopolies being one of the most powerful, to maintain their dominance. They make it difficult to earn trust or enter their markets. But then again, no one said it would be easy. Some monopolies emerge simply because a company got there first, secured exclusive space, or controlled valuable content, data or product, and even policies. However, monopolies are often fleeting, like sinking sand. One misstep, and a better prepared competitor or a brand new company can take over. This vulnerability is particularly pronounced within the isosceles group, where members frequently become overconfident. More often than not, greed leads to companies losing their foothold in the market. Notable cases of lost monopolies. Uber gave way for Lyft. Enron Energy collapsed and other companies took its place. Kodak's lack of reading the handwriting on the wall gave way for Sony and smartphones. MySpace gave way to Facebook. Yahoo slowed down for Google. BlackBerry business phones stumbled for Apple and Android devices to hijack the market. Sears retail couldn't see it until Amazon and Walmart gained dominance. Lessons from these failures. The list above is not exhaustive, but these examples illustrate how overconfidence, greed, and failure to adapt can cause even dominant companies to fail. This list will continue to grow over the next decade, because the positions occupied by the elite keep shifting, and major corporations face bankruptcy every few years. It's almost like a predictable life cycle for the isosceles group. The reality is that countless people in the world are striving for the same opportunities, including your position, and they want what you have. If you slip, pause, or rest for too long, they'll be there, watching and waiting to take your place. Even your job is not safe. Don't complain, don't explain, just keep moving forward. That's the reality of the pyramid. Again, boundaries within the pyramid are fluid. What works for one may not work for another, as times, trends, and consumer preferences evolve. Moving to a higher segment is neither simple nor easy, but it is possible. And when you get there, sustaining your progress requires constant vigilance, innovation, and adaptability. It is never over or done. Success is not guaranteed, but those who stay flexible and forward-thinking stand the best chance of maintaining their position. The book ladder. Books are another way to transition from one group to another in the pyramid. And many authors have written countless books with fantastic recipes and proprietary strategies on how to elevate members of the base group to the isosceles segment of the pyramid. And I believe many more are finding their way to the shelves even as you read this. These books often focus on how ordinary people can transform their lives, become wealthy, and escape trading time for money. I will not list any here, but after you read about 10 of them, it becomes obvious. The power is in you and how you apply yourself. Yet, despite the millions of self-improvement books sold, podcasts subscribed to, and thousands of hours of training programs attended, many people in the base group still struggle to make ends meet. This isn't to say that no one transitions from the base of the pyramid to higher levels, or that the books haven't been effective. In fact, many people do. A couple of people in church have done it, and we all know that the human ingenuity is a testament that it is all possible. Also, of the 500+ millionaires added each year in the US, many would have come from reading books, and the more books you read, the better your chance of success. Books are a powerful way to version and upgrade oneself, as true transformation happens from within while reading them. Similarly, reading helps disrupt the monotony of thoughts playing on repeat in your mind. Read widely. While it is possible to transition through the segments, the movement within the pyramid is gradual yet dynamic. maintaining a natural equilibrium. Not everyone at the base will quickly rise to the isosceles group and achieve wealth overnight. In fact, stability is far more important for the system than sudden prosperity for all. If such prosperity were to happen, the country would likely need to hire foreign labor to maintain function and restore stability. A dynamic rise and fall of people is a more sustainable approach. As such, the base group remains disproportionately large, with an invisible force often holding most people in place. Some countries have cultivated a strong middle class, and I hope more will follow their lead. However, my study suggests that the base will always remain foundational and vital, ensuring balance within the ecosystem. Still, you can break out of it if you know how. The truth is, it's not easy or straightforward to pick up a self-help book, follow its strategies, and expect your life to transform in just a few days or months. Clearly, J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter book magic doesn't apply here, and for most of us in the base group, life doesn't work that way either. However, when the time is right, and with the right mindset, change can happen almost mysteriously, like a switch flipping in your mind or a quantum transition. But remember, this isn't an excuse to slack off or wait around. Consistent effort is the key to success. Stay focused. Also, being ahead doesn't guarantee success. You must keep up with the trends. Like a bicycle, life only stays balanced when you keep moving. Ride on to stay relevant. Even pioneering companies also file for bankruptcy, and so complacency is not an option. In addition, I observed that the purpose of these books isn't to provide a fail-proof roadmap to Mark Zuckerberg level of success. Books open your eyes and senses, filling you with valuable information and igniting a desire that makes you radiate and want to act. In scientific terminology, they raise you to an excited state. But what happens next? Scientific Concepts offers three possibilities or options. 1. Zero glow option. After all the excitement from the book, you quickly return to your normal state or ground state, dissipating that radiant spirit and energy without any lasting impact. All that information gets stored in your long-term memory, or as I call it, mental glaciers. No work done is done with the information in this option. 2. Fluorescence or flash glow option. Here, you lose excitement but with time. However, you retain the essence of what you learned. You can share your knowledge and experiment with it before settling back to your normal state. Some information is retained in your short-term memory while others move to your mental glacier. 3. Luminance or glow-in-the-dark option. The energy and excitement last longer as you share, apply, and find others to sustain it. Eventually, you return to your normal state, with the experience stored in both your short and long-term memory, ready to be used. The key question is, what is the quantum yield? Of all the quantum energy and knowledge or information absorbed from a book, how much do you actually use? Does it dissipate as heat and sweat during your excitement, or does it get stored away in a mental glacier for years, untouched and unused? To make the most of what you learn, you must act while the information is still fresh. One way to act is to first realize that these books elevate you to an excited state, sparking new ideas. These ideas are yours to keep and use because they are meant to inspire and nudge you forward in the right direction. That is to version you. When these ideas come, write them down. Ideas are fleeting, shaped by time, environment, and the mental state that inspired them, making them difficult to reproduce once lost. Capture them in detail as they come to mind and dedicate time to revisit and apply them. Note, these ideas can also come from any source and at any time, not just books. Typically, allowing your senses experience new things or environments is a powerful way to spark ideas. Remember, your eyes, nose, ears, brain, heart, travel, projects, and experiences all serves as input channels to ignite a new version of yourself. The more books you read and the more experiences you accumulate, the better your chances of distilling and discovering what works for you. Success is deeply personal, thus, your recipe or ideas might differ from everyone else's. Expecting a book to deliver a step-by-step guide to fame or wealth has been unrealistic for me. especially since most self-help books are filled with overwhelming strategies that are difficult to follow or master. Life and work often get in the way, and many people don't even finish reading these books. Keep in mind that most individuals fail to keep their New Year's resolutions after the third week of February. Likewise, it can be challenging for them to finish a book, learn the strategies, and apply them effectively. The reality is, self-help books are part of a larger market targeting the base group, and the authors themselves often belong to this group, claiming extraordinary abilities. Some authors come up with a sequel anyways. I wonder why. Well, don't feel guilty if you're not where you want to be. Contentment is the true key to happiness and success, and good health and a sound mind trumps everything else. That said, if financial freedom and peace of mind are what you seek and you feel compelled to keep striving, keep exploring ideas and opportunities. There might just be a book or an idea that after a couple of tries would click or resonate with you. It's essential to acknowledge that there is no single automatic book lift or shortcut that will elevate everyone in the base group to success. As with everything, it's easier said than done. If someone like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk mentored you, the odds of replicating their specific achievements are slim. The timing, circumstances, and opportunities that worked for them may never align for you, as times and conditions are constantly changing. Even Mark Zuckerberg refused to sell Facebook to Yahoo for $1 billion 2 years after it became a success. He said, "If we sell the company, we might not get another idea as good as this one." The isosceles group may mentor you, but generating the same successful idea, or an even better one, is still not guaranteed. However, it's a fantastic opportunity to be mentored by entrepreneurs who have already succeeded. Your chances of success will undoubtedly increase as a result. Even top musicians struggle to mentor themselves into replicating their past success or maintaining a streak of hit singles. Look at artists like Madonna, Beyoncé, Rihanna, Adele, Eminem, Drake, The Beatles, Elton John, Ed Sheeran, Taylor Swift, and Katy Perry. They all face this challenge. It's not as easy as it seems. Try searching for songs on YouTube with over 2 billion views, and you'll see just how rare, sustained success can be. Success isn't guaranteed by working harder or being overly cautious. And for musicians, just because you got a hit single last year does not guarantee you another one this year. Life is constantly changing. While effort, discipline, strategy, affirmations, visualization, and determination are crucial, other factors, like timing, circumstances, and what I call the triple X factor, luck, grace, chance, or blessings, play a significant role. These factors are difficult to replicate. What I found was that success generally requires blocks of time to think and work on something, a desire to build or iterate, and people to help you scale, either as partners, co-founders, employees, foot soldiers, or customers. These people are there to help build and support your dream. Also, it's important to mention here that people are the key to success, often hiding in plain sight. Throughout history, successful icons have built wealth and fame by leveraging the skills of others. You create the vision and sell it to them. They build it, but at a cost, whether as partners or employees. Members of the isosceles group create projects and businesses, gather the right people to fill essential roles, and then bring their vision to life. What others in the base group call work or a job, they see as a vision or a business. Trying to do everything alone makes success far more challenging. Delegating and empowering others is the smarter path forward. Only with a team you can make it. Henry Ford. For most of us today, success starts with a product or idea that others find valuable. Beyond that, it depends on the strategies mentioned earlier, and your connections, networks, and how you navigate your journey. Failure is an inevitable part of the process. It signals that you haven't yet reached your destination or acquired the needed essence to proceed to the next level. I think it serves as a reminder that growth and progress are still possible where you are now. The boundaries within the pyramid control movement, but they are not impenetrable or monopolized by a select few. Transition depends on your ideas, the people you involve, and your ability to execute them effectively. Moving forward, advancing up the pyramid demands patience, strategic planning, and resilience. Shortcuts are often tied to fraudulent practices. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. As we all know, great fortunes built on quick gains often come at a hidden cost. I say this because today, many aspiring entrepreneurs and companies target a desperate consumer base with promises of quick success and financial freedom through books, free training, and misleading guides. Unfortunately, many people in this group, eager for change, are willing to spend their limited earnings on programs and memberships that promise substantial financial rewards. Many mentors, entrepreneurs, and programs you see online or in ads have realized that scaling through a volume model is simpler than spending hours, days, or years working on something themselves, even with their own so-called winning strategy. A traditional job isn't much different. As Elon puts it, depending on a single source of income from one employer or your own effort would take thousands of years to achieve a meaningful financial freedom. Earning $1 million becomes much more achievable when a reasonable amount is collected from millions of people in exchange for a product, service, or item, or by having people work for you. Big companies understand that strategies like premiums, fees, memberships, and subscriptions are a faster and simpler way to generate billions in revenue, compared to working alone for long hours. Some key insight I've gathered from studying the various paths to the top include the following. Staying open to books, experiences, people, places, projects, and ideas could lead to your next big opportunity. Failure is just an opportunity to reevaluate, adjust, and try again. Staying curious and keeping your mind active is a better state of mind. Success comes when the right idea meets the right conditions and mindset, but it always begins with taking the first step. The real power is in starting. Your idea is a seed and starting is putting the seed into the soil. At this point, the idea is out and the dark incubation process of growing and surviving begins, under some set conditions, soil and environment. No one knows the full genetic makeup of your seed. All you do is plant it and work on it. What becomes of it and the directions afterwards are only revealed with time. Jack Ma never knew starting Alibaba would one day put him in the AI space, and neither did Jeff Bezos know about AWS when he started selling books online. Remember, there are so many factors, including the triple X factors you can't control. It is a game of starting and of chance. As Mark Cuban wisely noted, you only need to get it right once. A single successful venture or an idea can transform your life. One good idea, they say, is worth millions, but it is a choice you must make to move forward or to remain stagnant. And to remain is to wither under the weight and pressure of the pyramid. Persistence and openness to opportunity are your greatest allies. Ideas and people are the true vehicles of success. The 5 laws and boundaries. The following laws repeatedly stood out during my reading and are worth considering as you navigate both the pyramid and life. I summarize the laws here to fit with the pyramid. Murphy's Law: expect challenges and setbacks. Prepare, adapt, and stay resilient when things go wrong, because things will, brilliantly or wickedly, go wrong. We cannot help it. Gilbert's Law: personal growth relies on knowledge, skill, opportunities, and clarity of focus. Spend time building your best brand, which is you. Kydland's Law: success comes from relying on your own abilities and taking personal responsibility, not waiting for external help. It starts with you first and then a team. Wilson's Law: persistence is key to success. Once you know you are facing the right direction, the winning horse, keep pushing forward despite setbacks or slow progress. Due north is always due north, and due success is inevitably due success. In line with Kaizen, I believe that moving forward in the right direction, no matter the pace, is the way to success. No need to waste effort on the wrong idea or direction. Keep doing the right thing consistently and change will come. Law of attraction: expect good things to happen to you and good things will come. I added this here instead of Falkland's Law because of the triple X factor that we can't control. The energy you put into the world is important because it shapes what you receive in return. For this section, I would like to add that attraction for me is linked with manifestations or imagination, which is actually creativity. So, learn to attract things by being creative about what you want. Paint the clearest, most vivid picture of what you truly desire. What I've found among members of higher circles can be summed up like this. Actions sharpen your thoughts, and your thoughts refine your actions. They grow together. Taking time to create a clear mental picture of what you want in life will ultimately shape how you act. Creativity today is highly valuable to escape the generic world. Repeating creative practices forces a new manifestation, which is the energy to send out to the universe, and this is what now creates that attraction of positive results and expectations. There is reality, but to enhance your chances for success, you must apply the law of attraction to elevate your mindset and expectations, preparing for a favorable XXX factor. Every day, work on distilling your thoughts, emotions, and actions to be creative, and then magnetically pull your best creativity towards you. Start with a dominant mindset of abundance, confidence, and a can-do mentality. When you focus on abundance, growth, and success, you naturally attract the people, opportunities, and circumstances that help manifest your goals. Even the XXX factor can work in your favor if you learn how to attract blessings. What you seek is also seeking you, Persian poet Rumi. Finally, the keys to navigating the pyramid boundaries of work and life are not hidden by the conservative keepers of the pyramid. The catalyst of success have always been within us. We are in a universe of opportunities and possibilities. But before I touch on the keys used by the isosceles group, it is important to ask, what truly keeps the base group in their place? And why do they become the strong pillars and scaffolds installed at the base? The answer I found is acquired negative molecular habits, habits of hesitation, procrastination, complaining, waiting for magic, laziness, fear, doubt, hopelessness, indiscipline, complacency, inaction, and a lack of willpower and willingness to experiment on life itself. These habits all start as small nudges and suggestions, and then using a reversed Kaizen approach, increase daily and weekly until they become irreversible or problematic after many years of practice and growth. And that is why Will Durant puts it best, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not act but a habit. Will Durant. These patterns of negative habits create an invisible barrier keeping us locked in the base, and it becomes worse as we age. All big problems are built on tiny, molecular habits and decisions. They're molecular because, like molecules, these choices have consistent, repeatable properties. If we take care of small cancerous decisions, major destructive issues may never arise in the future. What's more, these habits become reinforced through spontaneous synchronizations by staying in an environment or culture of like-minded individuals or groups, and it makes things now seem normal to us. But in truth, they act as barriers and inhibitors, keeping millions perpetually at the base of the pyramid. Each new generation of hope sleepers and procrastinators inherits the slack and picks up where the last left off, trapped in the same cycle of waiting for something to happen, rather than taking control of their own future. Then, one day, gray hair begins to sprout, and suddenly, you are the one asking for a senior's discount. Where did the time go? It is obvious why the base of the pyramid retains procrastinators, those of empty dreams, passive hope, and many of fantasy ambitions without solid foundations and actions. Ironically, the keys of the isosceles group are also habits. Yes, but molecular habits rooted in positive actions. A group of positive molecular habits makes a lot of difference over time. The isosceles group apply action-driven habits in their lives and business, and the difference lies not in mere existence of the words but in their molecular function and application. Every molecular action creates a direction. Here are some examples of the molecular habits that shape their action. 1. Take action habits. Start with an idea, begin something valuable, build on it, create something meaningful, and grow your vision. Action shapes thought, thought shapes action, they feed each other, that's how momentum's built. 2. Stay resilient habits. Persist through challenges, plan strategically, pivot or disrupt outdated models and overcome challenges. 3. Drive change habits. Disrupt when you can, innovate to stay ahead, transform your approach and develop new skills. 4. Lead effectively habits. Delegate wisely, empower others, employ and attract top talent, and execute with purpose. 5. Achieve success habits. Advance forward, achieve your goals, expand with the times, elevate your work, and scale your impact. 6. Keep improving habits. Evolve with change, inspire those around you, optimize your efforts, and progress continuously. To move upward within the pyramids, these habits should be integral to your work and daily life. Members of the isosceles group apply them often, making them central to their actions and mindset. Incorporating them into your vocabulary and everyday actions will attract success, transform your life, and break the barriers keeping you trapped in the base. According to the Kaizen model, good progress takes time, but like a muscle, action strengthens with consistent practice. I believe you can begin to overcome the limitations of the base if you start today, and so can I. Your limitation is your way up. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. The 6-month model. Taking action is no easy feat. It is a journey that most people in the base would rather not take because of the long and arduous landscape of failures, versioning, and expenses. Newton's third law says it best: for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Maybe that's why taking action feels hard. Resistance is part of the process, but that pushback, it's a sign you're making progress. However, I've found that taking small, consistent steps helps navigate the pyramid's challenges. I call this the 6-month model. I noticed that those in the isosceles group and large corporations track their progress through quarterly reports. This helps them identify areas for improvement, allocate resources, monitor expenses, and drive overall growth. Most importantly, it keeps them on track for a strong annual report. Likewise, those in the base group can adopt a similar approach on a smaller scale to jumpstart their journey. Success in this model isn't easy, but it provides a structured way to take action and see results. To move through Newton's resistance, we take small, almost imperceptible steps, but they add up. The key is to stay focused on the process rather than getting caught up in worries or overanalyzing the hows and whys. There are 2 key aspects of the model: action and evaluation. Here's how the action part works. For the next 6 months, commit to reading as many books as possible, exploring new activities, meeting new people, and trying new things. A new approach is necessary because your current version hasn't given the results you want. So evolving into a better version of yourself is the next logical step to help you think and act differently. Each day or week, capture your light bulb moments or inspirational ideas and write them down. Alternatively, focus on an area of interest or identify gaps in an industry, document your findings, and take action based on your insights. The fundamental step in the action phase of the model is to consciously work on your own small projects outside of work. By the 3rd month, select at least one idea and take action before the 6-month period ends. Put your ideas into action. If possible, collaborate with reliable people. They are the true key to success. For the evaluation phase, use a 6-month review period, similar to quarterly reports, to track your progress. 6 months is enough time to assess whether your ideas are working and to make necessary adjustments. Ask yourself, what have I accomplished in the past 6 months? Without a similar approach or engagement in meaningful small projects beyond routine work and daily errands, something many of us do and love, it's easy to reach 6 months with little more than receipts, bills, debts, tickets, junk mail, gossip, office politics, and repetitive work conversations. Trust me, I've seen this cycle repeat many times, while waiting for something to magically change. If you do nothing, your biannual report will likely look similar, or only slightly different from the one 6 months ago. Also, the same challenges will persist and sometimes even worsen until you eventually resign yourself to thinking, oh, this is just my luck. In the following 6 months, Continue refining existing ideas and projects while developing new ones. Repeat this cycle every 6 months and watch your efforts lead to meaningful growth. Remember, you are in business for yourself. If you're working on something tangible like the Trapezium Group or investing your time and effort like the Isosceles Group, you'll see results or make significant progress toward your goals within 6 months. All 5 laws apply here as well, so don't get discouraged when things don't work. Failure is both a refiner and an evaluator. Members of the Isosceles and Trapezium groups have mastered the art of failure. The more failures they experience, the more confident they become. The aim is to fail fast, learn quickly, and focus on what works to maintain your energy and excitement. Equally, they understand that failing is just part of the process. What matters is taking the assessment again and succeeding. This group has learned how to put it all together around failure. And the best part, you and I can do it too. I've also observed that some companies in the Trapezium group don't wait 6 months to evaluate their progress. They hold weekly meetings and produce quarterly reports to stay on track and guide their efforts toward desired outcomes. If these companies dedicate time to monitoring their progress and you work for them, why would you leave your own life to chance? Taking small actions will strengthen your mind and create lasting progress. Good molecular habits must be intentionally developed under this model. It's how the human mind works, especially as it becomes less adaptable after childhood. If you follow this approach consistently, your 6-month cycle will gradually shorten to 3 months, then 1 month, and eventually bi-weekly, as you refine and adjust instead of starting from scratch. According to Newton's first law of motion, the hardest part is overcoming inertia. Just as an object at rest requires a force to start moving, embarking on a new journey, like your 6-month journey, requires effort to get things going. Once you push past that initial resistance, momentum builds and progress becomes easier as you overcome your activation energy and move beyond your transition states, allowing you to continue moving forward with greater ease. This simple yet powerful practice will yield tangible results over time, and you will know that you're moving up the pyramid when you start seeing results and begin thinking about your projects or business, rather than just focusing on your work, family, and friends. Your emails and phone conversations are great indicators of your direction in this model. Conclusion: choice, action, and direction. 1. Remember, the future is yours if you dedicate time today to plan and take action using the models and laws. Your goal is to build an entire industry from a single idea or a fusion of hybridized ideas, and to elevate those around you into millionaires and billionaires. This is what people in the Isosceles group have done. Transitioning within the pyramid makes this possible, and it's largely a mental state driven by decisions and actions, both of which you control, and these factors determine your direction. Deciding to change your current mental state towards building and owning equity in companies is choosing growth over merely earning a wage, surviving, and eventually fading into obscurity. There is no conspiracy or setup. The pyramidal structure is fixed and you can work with it. 2. Embrace a better vision and reduce your fear. Have the courage to challenge yourself to succeed, stay consistent in your efforts, and maintain the confidence that you will win. Ultimately, envision your reality at the top of the pyramid, the isosceles slice. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Abraham Lincoln. See you there. The end.